somewhere in the apartments of a high building. The main character woke up in surprise. He didn't understand what that scream had just been, and what actually happened. Next to the main character was a girl who, first of all, she was scared because she didn't understand what kind of man was just next to her. So she asked him what he was doing in her room, and what does he need from her. The guy himself was very surprised. He did not accept what kind of situation had just happened. Everything he remembered was what happened in the vastness of the universe. Once two demons fought. Well, suddenly the heroes began to have a very bad headache. He recalled that the two guys said that this illegitimate bastard could not be allowed to become part of the family, so they told him to get out. They asked Ye Fan if he wanted to say that an arrow like him has the right to bear the surname Ye, but they just laughed at him after all, looking at him, and understood that the guy couldn't even give a leave, and he is very easy to kill. Then the guy finally realized that he had simply turned into the body of an earthly man, but at the same moment he was hit in the face with a pillow. The girl called him a scumbag because it was her first time, so she asked the guy how he was going to atone for his guilt. But tomorrow the guys heard steps outside the corridor. The guys were aware. For him to sleep with a hero, the first beauty, Jiang She, if they manage to catch them and take interesting photographs, the boss will definitely appreciate it, and his career will go uphill. The girl herself understood that I was doing something bad, but she also didn't know how the guys knew where she was now. If they find out, a very bad situation will happen. Not only will the company suffer, but her fiancé Gong Yun will kill her. The main character understood that this was a trap. The real owner of this body definitely does not know this woman, and he also does not have his memories of the past, and it is clear as daylight that he, that is, the main characters and here the girl, was drugged with something and thrown here. Ultimately, the goal of all this is not only to ruin the girl's reputation, but also to get rid of the owner of this body. But who could wish him death? Even the main character himself did not understand. The guys are already ready to open the door. They noticed that it was all thanks to Mr. Hu, and not once again Pavlodar said thank you for receiving such an exclusive tip. Dressed in a hotel room, the main character was pinned to the floor. This is the only thing that the main character understood. He understood that Ihu had a part in all this. The main character appeared in a red aura that enveloped the entire city, and he began to absorb different plants, after which I was able to transport myself to another place with the help of this magic. When the guys entered the room, they saw a naked girl, and that was all. They didn't understand what was happening, why there was only a girl here. Already on the street it was funny, and tomorrow the paparazzi will publish photographs, and the main character will be crushed by Mr. Gong. So they look together to see if the kindergarten can save his skin this time. Then another guy, or rather a male assistant, noticed that giving water to the main character and building it in such a way that all the dirty work was done by someone else's hands is an incredible skill. So he noticed that his master Hu is very savvy and at the same time cold-blooded. But the park got a call, and they reported that their plan had failed. After all, the girl was alone in the room and the main character was not there. He took the phone. They told him that they turned the whole room over and returned it, but did not find the guy. Well, after that, the main character also appeared as a pepper guy, all red, and asked the name of the guy who stood in front of him. Is he the true heir of the Ye family? Who suspected that it was all because of the reporters? They were the ones who allowed her to escape into the army. This is the chapter's plan, the man suspected. Because this old man, apparently, really intends to make the main character the heir of the family. The man arrived and decided to attack the main character, but only the man wanted to take the blow. The main character was able to easily dodge. That's why the man called him a coward. After all, he is running away. Why did the hero decide to hit the guy? He grabbed the man's throat and even started bleeding from his mouth. But the main character said that he wouldn't be able to get away with everything. He's so fragile, so he's a hero ready to eat him. The main character was interested in what a man would taste like, but the guys got into the car and drove away abruptly. After all, the man was able to escape the contraction. A man was driving a car and promised himself that next time he would kill the guy. But he was asked to look at the top of the car because it was somehow strange for her. The guys wrapped themselves in red. The hero was able to clench his fist, thereby destroying the sign that was on the car, after which the car exploded. And so Hu lay on the ground bleeding. He understood that this guy was clearly a demon and not a person. Ehu, pathetic skull. This time he is a hero, he will let him go. But if you get in his way again, he will kill without hesitation. The main character didn't even understand how this would happen. He remembered a girl named Huang Er who finally died. She hugged her brother, She just wanted to protect the main character. She didn't want to follow him just to be able to rule the world. She just wanted to be by his side no matter what. Now that the main character has been reborn and is in another world, he doesn't even know if she's alive. But he understood that this daring girl was able to defeat the third empress of the starry sky, whom even he feared, so she simply could not die like that. The main character promised his sister that he would return soon. He understood at least his body was weak. But the creatures on this planet can be very useful. Their life energy will be his. The granddaughter turned to her grandfather, because he came here as soon as he felt better. The whole family knew that this would happen. The man replied that she shouldn't worry, her grandfather was in good health. After recovery, he feels even better than before, and seems like he could move mountains with his hands. An assistant approached them and told the girl that her grandfather had once been the head of a military strike unit. And despite his years, even now not a single commando has come close to him. The granddaughter herself understood that her grandfather was the former head of the military, and even Uncle Zhang had no equal in hand-to-hand combat. Two incredibly strong men who can handle 20 or 30 people with their bare hands. Gaze really shouldn't worry that much. She understood this fully. One moment the man laughed because it was something huge, and two, he was able to pull it out, after which the main character stood in front of the people. Only the guys just wanted to, but the hero was the one who already realized what was happening. And he grabbed the assistant by the throat. He asked the guys who they were and why exactly they were attacking him. The assistant, of course, was able to escape the hold and then tried to find his kick, but the main character was able to easily block it. The man himself was surprised that the guy himself blocked his attack without even moving, and therefore he did not understand how this was possible. Yes, the main character decided to use his red aura to get rid of people. Here the assistant flew very far away. He failed to use his trick, after which his grandfather was very worried about him. He understood that things were terrible, and he needed to run away as quickly as possible. The hero was surprised because the guy is quite strong, and it seems that he broke his arm, or rather he broke the arm of the vessel he is currently in. Therefore he told the guys that they had failed to ruin his clothes, and asked them how they were going to compensate for this. And it seems that he has slightly overestimated this world. It's better for him to remain discreet and accumulate his strength. After all, if he doesn't do this, it could end sadly for him. Grandfather was surprised by the boy's words. Pay for his ruined clothes. After all, the men initially thought that the guy came to sit there, so the men decided to get money, and she said that they sincerely apologized for the clothes and should compensate for his losses. The old man himself understood that it was that person who was able to block Xiao Zhang's blow with one touch, and it must be that he really is not that question, and they can take advantage of the current situation and make friends with him. Then the guy thinks that this will not be beneficial for the Bai family, so he asked what the main character's name was, and can they become friends? The main character answered the old man. What about friends said that the man's time is already running out. Although he is now full of strength, he will die very soon. Then the girl herself entered the dialogue. She didn't understand what was wrong with the main character, and why he was saying such things. Everything would be wonderful in their family. What the smart hero said was that his actions were just bad. Whether to believe it or not is their business. When he got there, he had visions of some kind of ancient creature in his place. The old man saw this, and it seemed to him that he could kill him with one touch. The assistant noticed that his intuition had never failed before. It was possible that this person was really so dangerous. The old man also noted the words of his assistant that this is true, and he should know the legend about the great pilot. The story of the divine dragon tooth is the leader of the character who disappeared many years ago. But the assistant did not understand which ones could be compared. But then the man's granddaughter called them. Afterwards, the guys began to look at the fish in the water, which were simply dead everywhere. The old man looked at the sky. He understood that it was overcast with clouds, and most likely his life would be like this, gray and not welcoming. But if this young man really has divine power, then what he said that the man will die soon is indeed true. But the granddaughter didn't want to believe it. She said that she would definitely find this guy and find out all the information. The main character understood that it was initially clear that the previous owner of this body was not particularly sympathetic to those around him, but he did not think that everything would be so bad. This body is very weak, but hiding under the personality of this owner, there is a good opportunity to explore the area. The main character approached a man. He recognized him and also knew that rumors had it that he was having a lot of fun with the first beauty of the city. 3 days have already passed. He only dared to these people. Yu Fei was Ye Feng's girlfriend before she met Zhang Qiang. The previous Yefeng doted on this girl and was heartbroken for a long time after their breakup. Chiana addressed the main character. He would never have thought that he would have the courage to show himself after everyone found out about his status as an unborn child. Now he really is a celebrity. Not only the people of the Gong family are looking for him, but also his relatives, similar to his life dangers. But all that the hero said was that it was time for him to leave. Then the guy undressed and grabbed the hero by the shoulder. He didn't understand how to act as a hero, but the main character replied that the squeak of insects did not reach him. Then the protagonist's ex-girlfriend entered the dialogue. She ordered him to kneel and wheel her eternal love. Yes, she will ask her boyfriend to babysit him. Zhang believed that the main character hated him because he took his beloved girl away from him. Then at one moment the main character received memories of his body. All that the clone heroes said is that the girl is not worthy of love, and he has no reason to hate her. And him too. And he should have said that she has a weak tongue, and the guy himself can treat the garbage he doesn't need as a treasure. But he's not interested in that. People around were surprised at how arrogant this guy was, and the girl must have been shocked by the guy. But he said cruel words. And it looks like someone is about to be beaten. Zhang became very angry. He called the main character trash that no one needs. He cannot answer him with anything. And the girl said that she was blind if she didn't notice how ugly he used to be. A scumbag like him will never find a girlfriend. But all that the main character answered was that he didn't care about that. After all, such judgmental women like her are ideal for such a stupid dork as a guy, and therefore he wished them to remain happily. The guy wanted to rush at the main character, but then they were stopped by the old man's granddaughter, and she said that he was her hero boyfriend, and whoever looked at him will touch him will have to deal with the Bai family. This was the first beauty of Bai Academy. People around did not understand how she could be the main character's girlfriend. It was simply impossible to sell, and it was terrible, because it was impossible to believe. The first beauty and the trash, they couldn't just be together. Zhang would never consider offending her family. But the camp decided to approach the guy and tell him not to bother him anymore if his life was dear to him. And they had a lot of fun. His ex-girlfriend, now he can collect it for himself. The girl decided to approach her boyfriend and say that everything is wrong. But she was hit in the face, after which the man called her a corrupt girl. Already the main character is together with the granddaughter of the old man, and she turned to him and asked him how he was going to thank her for her help. But the guy replied that he had neither money nor power, so he could only pay in kind. That's all he has. The girl, of course, was against this. But the main character reminded her that she herself was pretending, and his girlfriend was the delusion of everyone around her. What if he already has a real girlfriend? This is a blow to his reputation, so it turns out she owes him for his moral damage, and also for the expenses of the future wedding. Then the girl reminded her that her grandfather gave the guy a card yesterday. Why was he surprised? Because he thought it was she who gave it. This girl just decided to look in her pocket and the guy suddenly disappeared. The main character said that the girl's grandfather would die, which is exactly what she wanted to talk about. And he must have understood her intentions, so he ran away. And she won't just leave it like that. I will definitely find out who he is and his secret. Two guys in the room were discussing about some man who dared to return after everything, and this time he was clearly in trouble. After all, the Gong family is already aware of the situation with Lin Lan, and one guy heard that they want to break the legs of the main character. But the second guy replied that not only the Gong family was indignant, the top of the Yi family threatened him and even promised not to recognize him. The main character listened to all this, and he understood that it seemed that it would not be possible to be quieter than water. And you'll have to play a little with these kids. A guy ran into the room and ran up to the main character and told him that the family was Gung, and didn't understand why the main character was still standing and not trying to offend. Of course, the main characters would like to see what they are capable of, so I told the guy that everything was great and he needed to relax. The guy under orders didn't understand how to relax. After all, he was just worried that he was the main character and told him to run faster. The people of the Gong family were already that, and they would do everything to curry favor with their head, even tear the main character into pieces. A family entered the room, and they immediately asked which of them is the main character. Then Sang immediately pointed to the main character. As soon as the main character Stalin is crippled and loses the favor of the Bai, he will be able to unwind with him. When one of the guys approached the full hero, he asked if the main character was the bastard. The main character also wanted to ask the guy if he was the same trash that Chiang kept babbling about. I didn't understand how the main character could even behave like that. Another guy asked the criminal hero if he thought he could cut off the main character's ears, so that he would finally understand who he was dealing with. But the man said that first he is a hero, kneel down and apologize to him, and drop right at his feet and call him her master. The second, everything is the same, only they will help you do it, but they won't guarantee the safety of the limb. That's when a red aura appeared around. The guys were scared. And then, well, the hero would again become an ordinary person. The guy himself and those around him and his friends thought it was their imagination. So they started to continue to insult the hero. Then he, the heroes, also decided to give the guys a choice. That same moment gave them the choice to kneel, after which they immediately obeyed because he had already controlled their minds. Zhang immediately approached the head and began to try to reason with him. After all, their family should not behave this way, but the guy didn't hear him. The main character decided to point his finger at Sang and say that he is the guy they are looking for. So they stood up on their knees and wanted to beat the guy. What they did was hit him with a club. The hero looked at these and simply laughed. He found this whole situation funny while the guys were being beaten. Sang was already lying down and begging not to be beaten. And then the guys decided to leave after all. Then the main character was asked who he was, a person or a demon. How did he just manage to do this? Then he replied that he was neither a human nor a demon. He was much smarter than just a demon. Already during the lesson, the teacher came into the office, who wanted to start the lesson. But the hero immediately noticed her. He recognized this woman. She is enveloped in such an alluring romance. The Barovo purple aura contains the beginning of the 5 elements, and it feels as if you are looking at the heavenly. Her spiritual energy is much more concentrated than that of ordinary people. If the main character has even a drop of her blood, he can make a magic pill. It's like getting one more life in reserve. When the girl passed by the main character, he hit her on the ass. He explained this by saying that there was an extremely dangerous mosquito sitting on her buttocks, and he saved her by swatting it away. Of course, already in the corridor, he was a hero and took blood from a mosquito. It wasn't much, but it should have been enough for him. It was a very valuable thing. It was worth spanking once. Since ancient times, this creature was found only on the borders of the Forbidden Zone. Therefore, the hero did not know who brought this form to Earth. Already at the bar, the hero was called by an acquaintance. The fat guy explained that his girlfriend started making fun of him for nothing, so he left her. After all, what is important in life is not money or prestige, but human feelings. More precisely, brotherly bonds. She insulted his brother, so he couldn't just leave her like that. This is truly a sketch of love. Even the main character noticed. Then the guy didn't show his finger in one place, and he asked to see the main character. He showed us Miss Chiang. She is the owner of this bar from the most popular bar in the city. The wine she drinks, a glass from Big Sister, costs 10,000 per glass. So the guy asked to make 2 glasses for himself and his brother. But the main character stuck. Kai warned the girl that she was poisoned. He tells her this because she is under the influence of me, and moreover, the one who did this is already nearby. That man was already at the entrance. And what even the main character himself noticed was the guy who came to the bar and asked the girl who could save her in this city. Of course she can follow him, and then he will relieve her of the effects of the poison. The main character remembered the guy himself. His name is Lan. But the girl asked 2 guys who would help her deal with this guy, and the rest are also steaming around. After that, they will not be able to drink in this pair for free. One guy stood up to help us, and the nickname was an invincible fist, Black Market. The guys wanted to start fighting. The first decided to strike the Lao. When the guy wanted to hit Lana, he was able to return, and he noticed that until now Lao was the winner only because he met him. Then the guy was able to hit him. Why couldn't I put my ears straight on my back? Lan turned to the girl again and asked who else wanted to decide to help her. The main character asked Lan Course Lee who the main character really was. The guy replied that he didn't care who he was. He needed to get out of court as quickly as possible. The main character grabbed the guy's hand, and he planted his hand with all his strength, making the guy unable to even move it. But Lan also noticed that the last one who dared to speak to him like that was already dead. But then he immediately received a blow directly to the head and flew several meters away. He was bleeding and he didn't understand what happened and how this guy just did it. And why is ours so strong? He only became even more angry and asked the main character he wanted to bear the blow. The main character was able to easily dodge, then counterattack by striking directly at the guy's head. He lay down again but didn't get up again. Afterwards, the main character decided to finish off the guy. Well, unexpectedly, in front of the main character, the guy managed to disappear from the blow and counterattack the main character, from which he even received injuries. But surprisingly, the hero turns out to grab the shells with his mouth, after which he grabbed the guy by the face and came again to the wall. The main character asked the guy if he wanted to continue. He said he was giving up and that was enough. He poisoned the girl, so the main character ordered him to give the antidote. The guy took out his tooth and said that it is the antidote inside it. There is an antidote. He also didn't understand how the main character knew about this. The guy also ran up to the assistant grandfather. The guy asked what happened to the Lan. He explained that everything is fine and here is someone who does not respect him. The guy immediately recognized Mr. E. He bowed his head in front of him, after which the hero clones asked how his hand was. He explained that thanks to the main character it was possible to save it, and he turned to him again, because in fact, the assistant is here to find the main character. As he said, the gentleman's condition is unstable. Everything is exactly as the main character said. Over the last few days, his condition has been getting worse and worse in his body. The main character himself picked up this dialogue and said that a huge number of black spots appeared on his body. Many of them could not stand it. And at night he does not sleep because of the trial. Symptoms of a devil mosquito bite. The assistant noticed that everything was correct as I said the main character, so he asked if he could help the gentleman. The main character replied that earlier he said that they should let him die in peace, but young Miss Bai did him a favor the other day. Therefore he must repay her for this. It takes time to prepare, so you need to find out the main character only after 3 days. He handed it over to the assistant. But the assistant told Lan that from now on the guy himself understood that even the older brother begged the main character for help, and he did not understand why and what happened. Is this really the end? He offended such a powerful person. Then he knelt down and greeted the main character. Well, the main character said to greet him and his friend. The main character understood Lan and did not recognize him, although he was from the same dimension as him, so he did not understand how it even got from here. But he needed to think about it later. Now he needed to deal with the devilish mosquito. Already on the street, he saw the girl Lin Lan. Of course, he didn't understand what she was doing here. Therefore, I decided to secretly follow her. Then a car came for the girl, and the guy got out and grabbed her hand. He called her beautiful and suggested that they jump into the car because they would play a little. She was forcibly dragged inside. He was a hero, he saw it all, so he left his mark behind the car. When the guys decided to get out of the car, they held the girl in their arms. One guy noticed that it was all tiring, and he didn't understand how the family could live in such a wilderness. The guys went inside the hut, and they threw the girl straight onto the bed. They laughed because the title of the first beauty of the city is real. But the truth is, the wind. The guys had never seen such a beauty in their lives. Therefore, they decided to start by establishment. Here, even the main character entered the room, and she said that there was no need to take turns, and he suggested that it would be better for them to start everything together right away, and at the same time they will all die together. Then one guy noticed the main character, and he said that they did not expect the hero to be at home, but even better, this is all becoming more interesting. Then he invited the main character to go inside and see how they would do this, and they would throw all the blame on him. The main character realized that this was a rather insidious plan. Why did he laugh, or the guys wanted to deal with him? One guy decided to rush at the main character, but here the main characters were able to dodge, after which the guy himself was enveloped in red-black smoke, which caused him great pain. And then this man turned into stone and fell into pieces, but the hero asked the guys who hired them, after which they knelt down and explained that the gentleman should sit them down. After all, they were forced. They were only following orders. They were mistaken. They had already promised that they would not get in his way. They were sent by Ihu himself. After answering, the hero said that they could be free, so he killed them. After the guys died, the main character noticed that a jade pendant had fallen from them, and it was draining clearly unusual energy. The main character realized that this was the devilish stone of the celestial poles. He split it, and realized that with this stone he could control the collection of demonic energy, and the rate of energy recovery was significantly increased. The grove will suit him perfectly, so he went outside and saw a huge tree. He understood that this thing could draw energy from the earth and the sky. By concentrating it, you can also use the vital energy of the ancient tree to stimulate this process. He stoned and hit the tree itself. It was completely thicker, which even gave it a green color. He planted this stone inside a tree, and with this thing the plants will grow faster, and no one knows, in the future maybe even forest spirits will appear. The main character hasn't felt this good for a long time, but then, barely standing on her feet, a girl approached him. He saw that the concentration of her energy here was simply off the scale. This woman's body could not withstand it. The girl abandoned the guy and knocked him to the ground, asking why he left her at the hotel. Then the girl began to undress the guy. Apparently this time he would not leave her alone. He himself, the hero, did not understand what was happening to her. And he understood that it was impossible to leave her in this state, and agreed only this time. He decided to start by defeating her energy from the body. After the energy was released, only a small part came out, and he realized that he needed to do it again. He had no choice. The girl woke up naked next to a tree the next day. She again started shouting at the main character why he was here again and why he was here. The main character reminded her that he was the one who saved her yesterday, but also, then she remembered and asked to bring her things. She will just leave, and they will both pretend that nothing happened. The main character was upset because he was being used. Then he decided to go get his things. He didn't bring a shirt. When the girl started getting dressed, she asked where she was. The main character explained that this is his home, at the junction of city and village. Well, the girl asked if the main character could take her back. He replied that of course there was a car outside, but he didn't have a driver's license. Already next to the car, the main character noticed that he also needed to go to the city on occasion, so he asked the girl to give him a ride. He had some business there. The girl pressed the gas pedal, and she started driving very quickly, but noticed that the main character didn't care how fast she was driving. But then he noticed something, so he turned the steering wheel. The girl didn't understand what was happening, but some car was in the middle of the road. He, the hero, ordered the girl to stay in the car and not get out of it, and he decided to go in and figure it out, return the old favor and take something from above. It was Tsang who noticed that thanks to the main character, he now looks completely different, and he promised the guy that today he would die a terrible death. The hero asked the guy why he doesn't go there again, more precisely because this time he should be trusted. Everything is bad with him in his head, for some reason unknown to the main character, who gained strength with the help of which he was able to very quickly move along the main character, who apologized because he was not quite used to this force. That's why I missed. Later, the main character was able to block the guy's blow, and when he tried to counterattack, he couldn't do it because the guy disappeared from his field of vision. Who noticed that this is all very cruel, okay? The heroes are just like that, forcing him to use his murderous trump card on him. The main character realized that the guy had just used it was a demonic Asura mask. It couldn't just end up in his hands. Asuras are titanic demons who are hostile to deities. The hero asked the guy what kind of thing he had just put on. Then he replied that he knew, and also knew that he was a hero now. He would tell me about his death because he was organizing it with his own hands, and the rest doesn't matter. Then the main character said that he would give him one last chance, to tell him where he got this mask, and then he could help him. In an instant, the protagonist's field of vision disappeared. He was on top, and there, from such a main character, with the help of his leg of course, the main character was able to put a blog, and he understood that it was his brain that allowed him to use about 20% of his Asura power. Why did everyone watch the Lan? She didn't understand what these two were doing at all. They continued to fight. The hero noticed that the guy should not be allowed to get closer to him, but at one moment he was unable to dodge and received a direct blow. Hu laughed and began to destroy everything around him. He was glad that this mask was really cool. It was just a treasure because he felt his whole body filled with enormous power. But then the voice of the main character was heard, who noticed that later he did not give himself away from something. What kind of thing it was? The mask is the cannon fodder of lower demons. The mask is worn before battle to prevent the real one from escaping, and also to increase his morale and power. The mask can be removed in 2 cases, when wearing it dies or wins. As soon as Hu said that he would have enough time to help the main character, they came down from the throat and hit the club. The main character understood that it seemed that he was not careful and hit him too hard, so his cool thing, according to himself, broke right now. The guys continued to fight. Well, in the end, even the main character says that the guy won't be able to defeat him. There is only one way out, and that is for him to die. After which his mask began to crack, and he became even bigger, much bigger. He, the hero, understood that he would not be able to save the mask. It could no longer be saved, and by the way, neither could he. So I decided to just kill him, and I was able to cut it into 2 parts by destroying his mask. Okay, I took the heroes from the man, and he also noticed in his soul that it did not dissipate. For him, it was only less problems. He started eating her, and feeling the strength, he realized that this was the heir of the Gong family. Lan didn't understand whether the main character was feeling well, and what just happened at all. She didn't understand whether they were people or not. She asked if Hu was dead, and she was answered positively. But the girl especially understood that he threatened the 2 of them, so he deserved this fate. The main character was of course surprised because he didn't expect her to behave so calmly in such a situation, Therefore, he answered that there is a place where you can find the highest level of information and other materials. These he needs to do something. The girl remembered and suggested the guy go to the library and the university, where they have the largest collection of books in the whole city. The guys arrived at that place. The girl herself was sitting behind the wheel and asked what the hero was thinking about. After all, there was nothing to do with that car, so I asked the guy if he needed it. But the main character reminded her that he doesn't have the right anyway, so she can safely go. The girl asked the guy again who he was because he has such power, but the main character ignored her. He decided to just leave, but he said that if she gets into any trouble with you, she can contact him, and his number is already in her phone. I looked at the phone and actually saw his name. She didn't understand when, of course, he made it, but she didn't think about anything else. He was a hero trying to understand what had just happened, because he had a strange feeling, because something was wrong in this world. The mask and Dolan of the primordial belonged to his world, and also the devilish sea creatures that appeared here inexplicably. Therefore, it becomes more and more interesting what else he can find. All the records are in perfect order, but for some reason the main character had a strange feeling that never went away. The main character was approached by a girl who closed his eyes and asked him to stand behind him, but he didn't play it and just went back. This girl reminded him of his sister. Why was I so surprised? First of all, the girl asked where the guy had been all these days, but she was really looking forward to him, and in the end she decided to find him herself. The main character remembered that this was a childhood friend of the real bearer of this body. Wanger asked the main character if he could go with her to her birthday, because she, her good friends, organized everything and invited her. He is a hero and could not refuse the girl. Therefore, I agreed. In the evening, guys sent her to the hotel. And what's even more important is that the hero noticed that this place is incredibly luxurious. And he suspected that these good girlfriends had a lot of money. The girls were approached by a worker, and he reminded her that her friends were waiting for her in VIP room 19, and he stupidly asked her to follow him. Her snuggled closer to her friend, and she said that it was very expensive here, so she didn't know if she was here. So she asked if she needed to ask her friends to change place. The main character told her that everything was fine, but they had already arrived, so she needed to go to her friends. After all, who knows what might happen? When the guys arrived in the room, her friend came up to her and immediately hugged her. They were really looking forward to her. And first of all, the girl asked what kind of friend was standing next to her. The girl herself introduced him as her brother. Her was very embarrassed because it was a different place, so she told all this to her friends. But she, in turn, said that there was no need to worry about it, because Hu Xiao said that everything here would be paid for at his expense. And if a girl wants to thank someone, then she should thank him. The guy himself decided to congratulate the girl, and he offered her to drink alcohol. But the main character approached him and took a glass of wine from him. When he drank it, he told the guy that he needed to go talk face to face. When the guys had already entered the corridor, the hero came closer to the guy. He said that a glass of wine should have a sleeping pill, so he asked what he wanted to do piss-an, and who sent him. Hu Xiao answered the main characters with a question. Did he really not understand who he had caused inconvenience to? Since he was independent and came here and drank that wine, then he shouldn't even hope to leave this hotel alive today. The main character replied that it was just a trifle and we wouldn't get anything for it, however, if he didn't tell him who sent him. Then he will not leave this hotel alive. Xiao was sure that Feng would not be able to stop him. After all, the master Gong Yunfei instructed him to convey something to him. And beware, these were the exact words he conveyed. But then the guy didn't have time to finish speaking as he felt the power of the main character. A beast appeared on the main character. And then the guy asked to convey to this Gong Yun his words that as soon as he has free time, he will come to him in person. And let him wait. And now the guy will have to pay for everything he promised. He agreed with this, and I don't regret it one bit. The guys went outside. The main character noticed that the Anxi family has always taken great care of the main character, even despite all these issues with pure blood, so no problems will arise on their part. So he said goodbye to his girlfriend. Still, the girl herself looks like his sister from another world, so he should not be careful with her, study her past. But it seems he should go to the gun. Xiao was supposed to accompany him there. The main character also noticed one point. If the guy dares to raise his hand against his friends again, he will face larger losses than paying for dinner. Well, the guy thought nothing because a real man knows how to adapt to circumstances, but according to him, the main character is most likely finished. The hero over there managed to steal the guy's phone where his master had already called him. When the guys arrived at the place where they needed it, the main character noticed that he had stolen the guy's phone. This is exactly what he was looking for. The main character took the phone to his ear and asked the visitor if he stole Fei Qian because he has been especially active lately, so he must repay the hero for all his efforts. Then he asked if they would chat when they met. The guy replied that there was no need for this. After all, the main character, according to him, will not accept this night. The main character was upset because his caller hung up the call too quickly. That's why he broke the phone. He understood that it would be much easier when no one cared. The main character asked whether this was all planned by the master, to which he answered either positively. Xiao also noticed that he was dealing with a bad family, and there would be nothing left of him, because he can't even imagine how terrible people they are. But the main character thanked the guy only for the information. And he said that now the guy will be useless. Before the guy had time to catch his breath, his car exploded. A friend of the protagonist was sitting in the building itself, and it was a man who beat him with a whip. This man noticed that knowing that the guy here was a little strange and had some kind of hypnosis or something like that. Last time he publicly humiliated him, and so it became his turn to kill him in public. The guy turned to his brother, who sent it to him one by one, and he still thinks that the hero has some chance. It was a missy, six-fingered snake, and ordinary people will never understand his true essence. But then the main character burst into the door. He immediately noticed that Gong Yun was in this building. Then the snake appeared right above the main character's head, and he decided to immediately forge him with his trick. Even the main character was surprised because Gong Yun sent some ordinary snake charmer to kill him. Most likely, he doesn't understand people well. But the guys replied that there was no need to rush, and soon they would find out which of them was a private. The guys started fighting. Snake summoned two snakes, and with his own hands he decided to attack the main character and promised that the attack would definitely kill him. The main character noticed. That's how the teacher's blood, using her vital energy, began to show signs of intelligence and eventually gave birth to a civet. And even though it was impossible to make a magic pill, an assistant wouldn't hurt either. The serpent himself noticed that this was all child's play. Now together they will see whose spiritual beast is stronger. Therefore he ordered his Snake King to attack. The main character stood and smiled, not even despite the fact that the snakes were already above his head. He said that with such a low level of control, he is still so confident. And does the guy really think that the main character also needs to stand at peace in order to maintain control? The guy himself realized that he could not yet interrupt his control over the snakes. While the main character is trying to attack him manually, the snake asked the main character where he came from, and where he studied he had never heard it. Then the main character replied that Ada had also come. The guy tried to attack the main character with a huge snake, but the fan was able to cut off his head with one blow. The guy who had lost yet again tried to use his last trump card. He called for the snakes to reverse his hand, after which he called them back only in red form. It was a scarlet python. Of course, the snake is the main character. Everyone around them thought that he was already dead, but a baby burst right out of the inside of the snake, which began to eat the snake. The guy, of course, begged the main character not to kill him. After all, he was ready to do anything. He wanted to reach an agreement because he didn't want to die. Well, even the main character understood that the guy could really do something for him. He invited him to become a bomb. He touched his forehead and a red aura enveloped him. The main character explained that this technique is quite effective. A bomb made of flesh and blood is worthy of praise. The main character decided to deal with another bandit. He decided to put the flesh he was holding in his hands into his mouth. This was his little surprise return gift for Gong Yun. After which the guy fell into hypnosis, he repeated only one gift to his older brother. The main character approached his brother, who was tied up, and he noticed that he held up well all this time, and later his wounds would heal. Then he ordered me to go home. After all, he is now free. Gong Wu walked down the corridor, and he kept repeating the same phrase. When he came to his master, that is, he asked how everything went. Has the tragic hero really died? But the guy didn't answer anything and kept repeating the same phrase. Then his master asked him what he was muttering about, and also approached him and said that he was quite strange. The snake also asked them why he was not with him. Just when the guys wanted to explode and began to swell, his master pushed him several meters away. The guy decided to break the glass and jump through the building, to avoid an explosion. Yu Hero was wondering why Fan Ying called him because it was all somehow suspicious even for him, but he agreed with this because perhaps it would be possible to find out something about the intentions of the Gong family. Two girls called to the main character. The teacher introduced the girl. Let the main character question who it is. The teacher explained that this was her good friend Qin Shui. They together decided to take the main character to lunch with them, and thanked him for honoring them with his visit, because the girl really wanted to ask him a couple of questions. Already at the table, everyone had a side expression on their face. That is why the main character asked the girls what they wanted to talk about, because they were just silently staring at him. A place for some action. The teacher was the first to do it, because her friend told her that the dent that happened when the main character saved her from the devilish mosquito, she was simply horrified. At this time, the teacher was so restless in her soul, so she decided that she would definitely treat the main character to a delicious lunch. Zhu herself was a doctor, as well as the head of a private medical institution, and not much is known about the devil mosquitoes, so she wanted to find out where she got information about them from the main character. The main character decided to refuse. Then the girl said that since he refuses to answer, she has every reason to suspect that he and the appearance of the creature are somehow connected. But the main character said that this had nothing to do with him, so he thanked her for her warm welcome. But now he already had to go, and he left the table and simply left. Of course, two girls ran up to him and back. Well, already on the way out, the main character was greeted by Bai Zhengguo, but wouldn't they like to ask the main character to help them again? Of course, the doctor wanted to stop Zhengguo because the main character is unknown who the guy is and where he came from. Well, the answer was that she shouldn't try to insult the main character. After all, he is a respected person and the bone of their family. The main character suggested going because he was afraid that the matter could not be delayed. Well, after all, the doctor came to ask the main character if she could see how he carried out the treatment. If everything went well, then she would like to become his student. The main character didn't mind if the Bai family didn't object. The agent watched. He informed his master that the main character was accompanied by people from the Bai family. Then he asked what the gentleman would order to do. In response, he received the task of continuing to follow the main character and monitor his actions. I asked for help in the central area of their city. A powerful explosion occurred. A multi-story building was completely destroyed. Police are still investigating the cause. Already in the mansion, the doctor turned to the main character that it's not that she would like to trust him. He's just so confident that he can cure this Neda, which you can't help in the fight even better than doctors from all over the world. As a professional doctor, she is also Mr. Bai's personal physician, and she will not allow experiments on him. The hero answered her that then she should carefully observe the processes and he would cure him without any experiments. Already in the office, the male assistant told Mr. Feng that the man had been lying in bed for 3 days, and I also looked at him for being able to come. The main character called his beast. Why was everyone surprised? But the main character said that he shouldn't react so loudly. This was the key to his salvation. Also, the main character asked the assistant to bring more containers. The main character squeezed blood out of the beast's paw. Afterwards, he handed this bowl to the assistant and told the gentleman to drink it too. So the main character asked next time to be more attentive to his enemies from the Gun family, but then the girl interrupted him and said that it was the Len family. Grandfather himself woke up and asked what the main character had just said. He said that he still had a lot to find out, but he can tell exactly what makes mosquitoes a creature from another world. The doctor was immediately surprised. How is this possible? And in the end, she didn't understand who the main character was and what world he was from. He, the hero, continued that the old man does not need to delve into this, because sooner or later everything's secret becomes clear, and he just has to be on his cheek. The Gong family may be crazy, but still not so crazy as to enter into an open confrontation with them in public. The granddaughter thanked the main character for saving her grandfather. He replied that you're welcome, and also asked her about cars. Who sat outside? The girl replied that this was not their car, and also then the main character said that since he saved her grandfather, she would have to give him the car, because there was a small problem. The guys from the Gong family rushed into the yard. There was a fight between the guards, until a huge man appeared who was looking for our main character. After all, he was going to take it and leave them all alone. The big man saw the main character in the car, after which he wanted to hit, but the main character was able to protect the car with his energy. The main character was asked where he got such strength. Guisho was not a surprising fact, because his master himself said that everyone should be more careful towards the main character. He alone is like an entire army. However, this does not change the fact that today it will come to an end. The main character called the guy stupid, because first you need to catch up with him and then he will carry on all his nonsense. Then he started the car and drove very quickly. The main character stayed near the forest, and he got out of the car. He realized that this guy of the show had quite interesting techniques, and even the hero received damage. His left hand was shaking. The main character approached the tree, and I understood that I needed to think about it later, but now he needed to get back to normal. He began to cultivate. The lunar hero received his power for a while, and he understood that this would be enough to deal with several people, so he waited for them to arrive. As a result, they all met next to the dream when they found the main character, but here it's just foggy and one man's head was cut off. The main thing between them was to cry out so that they would gather together and not give the main character a chance to deal with them one by one. But then another head just fell, around the main big guy. People started dying. They were drawn in, and he, the hero, said that this was his domain, or rather hell. Well, here the main character turned out to be some kind of monster, but the main character said that the monster is on his territory and still wants to fight. The guy raised his hand and began to use his technique. He told the hero that if he did not want to calmly accept his death, then he should not cry when they forced him. The main characters were tar-pushed, and the monster immediately rushed after him. The main character didn't have time to come up with something. Here I have already grabbed the garbage up and down. He himself said that the main character was not bad. He even dared to challenge the alliance. Well, I'm really afraid that he will kill him quickly. His name is Kui Feng. He should remember this name because he will be the one who will deal with him. The monster bit the main character, thereby beginning to suck out his strength. That the main character himself even noticed. He understood that he needed to deal with him first. But then the big man began to cast his technique, thereby piercing the main character through and through. The guys already thought that the main character was dead because there was a huge hole in him. The monster noticed that he was just tired of his toy, and because of this greenhouse it would be an excellent option. He had a good leg, and his strength was pretty good. The big man understood that he couldn't get rid of the main character just like that, and it's better to leave the face of the earth because he defeated their previous friends. The monster noted that despite all the warnings, there was nothing special about this guy. Therefore, I didn't understand why the young master sent them both here, because fighters of rank E, to get along with some scum of rank F. However, he will still be rewarded for it. But then the main character appeared behind the guys and already wanted to attack the monster. The monster didn't have time to say anything, how he was left without one limb. The hero himself noticed what was happening, whether they used the alphabet to designate ranks, and it even seemed interesting. A big man from the Kirov wilderness. How is this such an opportunity because it hit him right in the heart? Even the positions would not have been able to survive this blow, but he could. Even the main character noticed that this was really so, that is, they had remade a hole in him. Well, that was the whole secret, and its direct lies in the dynamic frequency of oscillations. This blow was enough for him to understand this. The guys didn't understand who the main character was because Brazil Sauda was still standing on his feet. The main character was able to get his scythe. He greeted her because he had not met her. Gui Shou was even able to injure his shoulder, from which he fell to one knee and clenched in pain. The main character stood over the guys, and he admired his strength. He understood that it seemed they were a little hasty in determining the level of his ability. Now they will feel the full level of their power. The main character began to fill the entire space, and that's why the guys didn't see anything. The clown hero gave the guys a choice. Leave only one of them alive. Gui didn't understand what this nonsense was. They understood perfectly well that what she wanted in the camps was for them to kill each other. Gui decided to attack everything around in order to injure the main character because he was hiding in the haze. The monster decided to color his personality. After all, he wanted to live. The monster decided to sell his friend and turn him into a puppet. What's next? Even the main character noticed that the guy himself should know that he would not return from here, so he asked what the show was for. The guy himself noticed that people's ability is much lower than their ability, so they decided to attack the main character again. Well, the main character killed two guys with his movement. He even noted that it was quite difficult to meet someone interesting, but it's a pity that it turned out to be too fragile. These two forced it. The main character pays all the life force within the radius of the established magic field, so he restored what he contributed. Speaking their language, he should have at least rank A. Now he should be more careful and save up his strength. But then the main character's beast appeared, which, after absorbing the corpses of the people who remained, was able to turn into a lion. The main character is interested in lard, because there is some kind of alliance behind Gong Yun, so the heroes began to wonder whether this alliance could become behind his snack. And also the Bainu family can be a good bet in the fight against Gong Yun. The doctor came to the scene of the battle. She saw how two members of the alliance were dead, and there was no clue around why. And it was necessary to note once again that this guy is much more dangerous than the headquarters could have imagined. They don't know what else the Alliance has to deal with. but people with outstanding abilities included in their ranks must be ready to confront the main character. What this girl noticed. In the Alliance unit, the Alliance liaison officer is Chu Li. The head of the family was angry because the power of each of the E-rank masters is comparable to the top 10 special forces. But the two of them could not deal with the main characters, which is what angered him. An officer approached young Master Gong. After all, it was all true that you are the blood of the Lin family, but he asks not to forget his master that he does not have the authority to give commands. For the first time in so many years, the head himself sees a guy who dared to question the authority of the Alliance, appeared out of nowhere and pursues goals known only to him, and therefore, if next time they are not more decisive, there will be huge losses. The officer himself assured his master that there was no need to worry, because he was here to take care of everything. The new present time, the Alliance and the Demon Gate are not on the best terms, so getting new masters will be problematic. Well, the head of the family didn't care. After all, this time the Alliance must provide him with masters as soon as possible. He wants this protagonist to beg for mercy, crawling on his knees in front of him. But the officer understood perfectly well that the masters were not even his equal, and that the masters of rank F would simply be cannon fodder, and now you can only hope for masters D rank. The main character understood that it was not the time to turn to others, so he would continue to use the Bai family. Ilyushka was already standing on the balcony. I was waiting for the main character. He turned to her and said that it so happened that he was no longer at home. Therefore, he hopes that his friends and her family will be able to give him a place. Well, the girl didn't understand where her grandfather's car was. After all, she sat down more than 10 million. She didn't understand how he dared to come back here and demand something like that. But the main character laughed and said that he was no longer interested in the car. He was more interested in cash. The girl came out to the guy and wanted to hit him. But the main character reminded her that he saved her grandfather, and at the same time, her entire family. She tries so hard to thank him. Therefore, the girl stopped and asked again why the guy was here and why she had returned. He again explained that he simply couldn't keep it. She was surprised because he is from the E family, and he has no place to live. The main character showed the girl that the buttons on her chest were stretched, after which she blushed and called the main character a pervert. Already at night, the hero was sitting opposite the doctor. The doctor asked him whether he was a member of his family or not. But the main character noticed that the girl was asking too many questions, and it was already too late, so he should have gone to rest. But the girl just wants to make sure that he is not their enemy because they don't want that. Therefore, it is important to understand whether they pose a threat to them. But the main character decided to play in his own way, and asked the girl why mosquitoes and creatures of the dark star were done to whom. The girl answered him that this world is unstable. Spatial temporal faults are completely rare. That is, she realized that he was really from this world. The main character changed his form and introduced himself as the greatest king of hell. The head of the Gong family came to the battle site. He was very happy because his safe, which was made from special alloy metal, was in perfect order as expected. It didn't matter to him whether the main character would find it, because he would still look at how he would crawl on his knees in front of him in the dying fire. The man took out green hearts from there, which was in the bank, and then a woman approached the man, who was surprised that the man still keeps such things. I also noticed that coming here all alone was quite brave. The girl can steal a jar with a heart. Of course the guys wanted to kill her, but she noticed that he wouldn't even be able to do it. She easily dodged his blow, and she said that his family is still quite strong, but such trash as him is a very pathetic thing. The guy understood that if he destroys this girl today, his alliance will reward him. The guys almost managed to hit her, but she was able to deflect the blow with her foot, and she noticed that the strength of the people from the Gong family is close to the strength of rank D masters. However, her ability was still unknown. But the girl also noticed that the game is over. She really wants to kill him. But now, unfortunately, she can't take him. Of course, he can rejoice because today she will spare him. Gong to the girl that if she wants to continue, then he's all for it, even if he can't kill her. But that doesn't mean that no one can do it. The guy decided to use his trump card in this case, and right from the ceiling they began to fall on the girl. She was able to defend herself with the help of a book. She understood that this was his trump card from the very beginning. The girl decided to leave abruptly. After all, she didn't care about this. She got what she wanted. He was a hero talking to his scythe. He had finally regained his strength enough to summon him. Now he is in the best shape, all thanks to receiving vital energy. He needed to find a way to gather as much information as possible. What is happening here cannot be called the norm at all. The girl called the main character. He didn't understand, of course, who it was and what she was doing here. Firstly, the girl explained that she just wanted to look at the main characters. Then she came to the second one and threw hearts in a jar to the main character. This thing was quite familiar to him. The main character, of course, asked the girl where she could get it, but she replied that it was straight from the hands of Mr. Gunn. The Lord of all hell must have been pleased, as a gift. Then the main character became interested in who this girl was, but she didn't want to answer, so I decided to just offend. Of course, he said that he didn't allow her. He just tried to attack her like that. But she said that the ruler should not be so unimportant. But at least he can understand that they are not each other's enemies, so there is no need for them to fight. The girl was waiting for their next meeting and therefore left. The main character looked at the jar with the heart. He understood that demonic mosquitoes, the hearts of Asura, and this system is capable of maintaining the vital energy of the heart, supplying the blood of demonic mosquitoes. But for some reason, this is what my friend said. The phone hero was called. Later, 2 guys were driving in the car. The full hero said that the Fae should pay the bill. Of course, the guy Peter stayed, "What is this thing?" But the main character didn't make it clear with a glance that he shouldn't ask. The main character understood that besides my boyfriend, there were a lot of soy strangers and creatures around here. Therefore, he told the guy to tell everything he knew about after the explosion on their planet. When he woke up, he was already here. The main character wondered if there was some kind of demonic star explosion on this planet. But the guy remembered only a huge sphere that filled the entire space. Then he lost consciousness, and he no longer remembers what happened after. The guys had already arrived at the gun, and so the main character asked how many times he needed to beat his ass so that he would calm down a little. The guy himself was holding a doe hostage, and he said that it all started because of this woman, and now it will end. Well, okay, the hero said that this is all nonsense and the guy should ask him about it. Well, the goon didn't care about his family squabbles, because the hero's clones dared to touch his fiancée, so he had to die. But he, the hero, wanted to ask him something from where he got the Asura mask. To begin with, the guy decided to dance the main character, and he said that he would go back to hell. And then perhaps he will think about whether he wants to answer Diamond's question. The guy was able to catch the main character and almost attacked him. The same main character noticed that there are quite a lot of interesting things in the Gong family, but this was still not enough to kill him. The main character also noticed that there was an officer watching the girl, who watched their battle. Then at one moment the goon again appeared above the main character and told him to be reborn, because he would personally send him away. A pictogram appeared under the guy and said that he remembered all the subordinates who died in this place. After all, they liked this place, so he will care, with his former servant. The servants all rushed towards the Guna, but the main character drew attention to the officer. He understood that he was alarming us, or at least he needed to save this girl who was always getting into trouble. The main characters were somehow able to injure something that even caused him to fall into the ground, and he was surprised, so he asked the guy in the suit if they were all so strong in the alliance. And the officer replied that his abilities also exceeded what he imagined. A huge baby appeared and grabbed the goon. Of course, the guy was able to destroy him, or rather destroy his head. Well, later I wondered what this thing was. When the guys turned back, they didn't see the girl. They saw that only one sofa was empty and also the main character was not around. He has already jumped off the building. The main character again called this woman problematic. For the first time he received a call from her and immediately asked to get her out of such a mess. The guys were standing on the building. The main character noticed that this was a safe place. The guys still needed to figure it out, so he decided to jump back onto the building. Faye took out a jar with a heart, right in front of the guys. Of course, they didn't understand where he got the bank from. After all, after everything is over, the guy himself will go to the elders and explain everything to them. Now the most important thing is to return this thing. But Faye decided to take this heart. After all, it was a delicacy. Until his master returns, he will play with them. Faye was very happy because he ended up in this world with such an artifact. Faye immediately rushed at the gong, and immediately he was able to switch to the officer. Then the guys started to act in general. Everyone tried to attack the guy, but he easily had great speed, so he could run away from blows. He also said that he had a small gift for the guys. Due to the fact that the guy bit the officer's hand, she began to wrap herself in green. The officer realized that his hand could not be saved, so his master cut off his hand. The guys understood that the situation was extremely dangerous. The officer promised his master that he would kill this parka. Therefore, he allowed him to do this, but he himself wanted to deal with the main character. He gave him red energy, with which he was able to grow his arm back. It was the ability to control liquid metal. The main character has returned. The girl who turned to the young Master Gong because he used dirty methods. This guy replied that he himself was a hero and a fool because he had given up his surname. And he really wants to give his family his last name, but he is not allowed to do this. In this world, the strongest survive, and the circular bonds of bloody stones are a matter of survival. And also the guy called this city his property, and the main character is a hateful creature, so he was ready to kill him. The main character began to dodge the attack. He understood that the gong from the very beginning was configured in a similar way, but he did not know if this had anything to do with his surname. Therefore I told him that relying on killing his family would not make him stronger, and he was just trash, wanting to use other people's authority for his own purposes. In his world, he seemed to have climbed to the top alone and received the position of Demon Emperor, so he cannot be bothered by some nonsense like his surname. Gong extended his fist to hit the main character. Well, the main character was able to produce his braid back, and he pinned the guy right to the floor. And he said that if you miss the fact that his family supports him, just a non-entity. Goon warned the main character that he would not be able to kill here. When the main character asked why, the guy did not answer that he would never let him get away with it, including Len's family. Then the main character asked the same thing. As the guy himself thinks, you never know, he was threatened by the Demon Emperor. The main character said his name and also noted that in a past life he was a Demon Emperor, so in this life he is also going to become the strongest. Hell is his domain. The main character cut off the guy's head. Faye even laughed at first because it seemed that the gentleman officer did not miss even a couple of tears. The main character said that they need to end this. If his beloved alliance wants to resist the main character, then he will only fight until the very end. A man appeared, who immediately looked at the number and saw a dead corpse, and he ordered the officer to leave. He immediately obeyed and began to run away. The main character stops them. These are the goals of regaining his former glory and putting him on top of the whole world. Some people from this tiny place will not be able to harm him. If this small town is the way to go, then what else can the Demon Emperor do? Surely destroy him. The main character said that they should go now, and the fairy himself will protect him from behind. His strength, according to their classification, is strength. Now he should be aware of everything that is happening. The officer turned to Mr. Zhao and asked what he thought the Leng family had done this time. The guy replied that this family has not yet gone bankrupt with the Ye family, only because the Bai family is on their side. Until the situation with the demon enemies is resolved, the Leng family will not be able to do anything. This time there are quite a lot of people on the profile who are not members of the alliance. That's why Gong's mother appeared on the questionnaire. Everyone around already knew that her son had been killed. She welcomed everyone to the alliance package and thanked them for their work. Lately, she has been very busy with the situation with the demon gates, however. At your place, she wanted to tell them something on behalf of the elders of the alliance. The officer asked his friend what this girl was going to do. He himself did not understand the woman who mentioned the elder, so he had to expect the worst. The woman herself said that there was a temporary agreement between the demon gates and their alliance, for example, so they could all take a little rest, but she held her son's head in her hands. And she said that the Leng family must settle scores with someone. Whoever helps her get rid of the person who dared to insult her family will receive a reward from the elders of the alliance, regardless of whether he is a member of the alliance or not. The elders are fulfilled by any wish. Video. The group understood that this woman was very heartless. She actually brought the head of her murdered son. The main character of the network himself was in the room with his friend and drinking. The smart hero mentioned that you are in a bad situation now. His friend replied that no matter who the Demon Emperor hero is or an ordinary student, no matter who he is still his friend, so he suggested that they continue to stick together. While the main character was joking, after all, he clearly won't keep up with him. His friend really didn't understand how he could talk like that, because he was reborn in this world and wants to return to his former glory. Therefore, his help is quite possible. But the main character replied that he was very glad that he wanted to help him, so he leaves resource management to him. He is the main manager. A fairy ran into the room and immediately told the main character that the Bai family wanted to see him, because they had something important. The doctor stood next to the main character. She spends all day monitoring the process of building the main character's house, and he didn't even deign to say hello to her, so she didn't understand where his manners were. The guy himself replied that it was all their initiative in order to please him. If she challenges the order of her organizer, she herself will receive a reprimand. The girl immediately got angry with the main character and said that he is simply unbearable. She does this every time. She goes and looks after the management of the house. So she threw the key at him. When the main character asked what their organization does, the girl replied that science has no limitations, be it the teaching of improvement or practical methods of hardening the body. In general, everything that helps to become stronger. But the sources of power, the fundamental principles, are what they pay more attention to. Therefore, anyone who can help them lift the veil of secrecy and shed light on issues of interest can become their ally. Well, then suddenly the main character noticed a person. He tore his hearts out and began to eat them. And he warned the girl that she should not forget that if she wants to ask him for something, she needs to behave normally and not do such things. After all, he is the demon emperor after all. The doctor was sitting opposite his owner. Of course, he took an interest in her because she said the opinion in the organization was divided. Therefore, he was interested in why some people were against the main character. The doctor explained that there are different groups within the organization, so differences of opinion are often a phenomenon. However, this should not in any way affect the performance in the Miss Bai organization. Bai asked again if she could join. Wanhejie is the most prestigious research organization in the world. The members' article is not so easy. Well, since all the merits of the protagonist in the extraction and poison of the devilish mosquitoes were attributed to them, they can become their happiness organization. Bai noticed that when she mentions the main character, she just starts to get angry. But the doctor noticed that the girl's first task as soon as she joins the organization will be a mission to monitor the main characters. The main character was lying on his bed. Then he realized that something strange was happening around. Namely, he was interested in what was happening on the demonic star. After all, they have been fighting for so long and are now trying to settle down on the planet where they used to exile slaves. After all, who would have thought that we would have to start all over again? But perhaps some of the guys from the Demon Star could also get here, like Dulan. So he needed to find a way to bring everyone together. Dulan stood outside the door. Therefore, the main character asked him what he was doing there. The guy himself replied to his master that he didn't seem to be a little upset, and he didn't want to bother him. And then, on the demonic star, his assistant lost to him in a battle to increase his rank. So the main character didn't understand why the guy didn't hate him. After all, he heard that it was important to him. Lan, what if you say that you hate the guy? It won't be true. However, after this he managed to become the emperor, so he does not think that he would have the strength to do such a thing. Later he really realized that everything was supposed to be like this. This place was originally theirs. Then the main character saved the demonic star from the humiliating order for the people that existed under the three masters. He is a hero for the entire population of the demonic star. He sincerely admires him. Therefore, Mr. Emperor, when he did not go, the guy promised that he would follow him. The main character walked out the door to the guy. He also said that he had to figure out what actually happened on the demonic star. But now the main problem is Len's family. Since they have officially released their dogs, they will put a price on his head. Then he also doesn't know and cannot sit idle. Lan asked his master what he was going to do. The main character explained that he would seize the initiative. Tonight he would go to the Alliance to greet the guys. The main character has already arrived at the building. He remembered the doctor's words that the struggle of factions in the organization is a common thing, and those who are plotting something against him are not their people. They didn't want to be his enemies. In exchange for his forgiveness and his inclination, he received from the doctor information about the location of one of the secret headquarters of the Alliance. A guy approached the main character. After all, no one invited the main character, but he replied that he was done here, and their job is to open and close the doors. A guest has come who can pay, so they should behave as calmly as possible. The guy replied that their doors are always open. The only thing the main character said was that they parked the car quickly. Well, after all, the guy touched the main character and warned him, no matter what he comes up with there, once he gets inside, there will be no turning back. If anything, the guys warned him. But the main character is confident that the guy will return soon, so there is no need to worry. The guys were sitting in the office, and they discussed how the main character himself came to them, and this was a great opportunity. But they know what the gong itself is. Even the most mediocre train was able to finish it off. But only at that moment the main character burst in, who was surprised that the guys were having a meeting. Therefore, I asked the guys if they had figured out how they would kill him. The main character asked the guys if they wanted him to share his weaknesses with them, but then a man was already behind him. Posed to the hero, Stella is the same driver who was supposed to park his car, but he stopped abruptly and could not fight. When the main character was asked what he did to the guy, he replied that he just did it to his demonic soldiers. The main character began to use his secret technique, materialization of the soul, after which the guys fell into hypnosis, and then the hero ordered the guys that from now on the place belongs to him and has nothing to do with the Alliance. All Alliance members who come here are expected to be killed. Altogether, Stalin shared a hookah and said that they would obey their master. The main character himself called his friend and told him to come to the Red Diamond because now it is his responsibility, and he shouldn't ask unnecessary questions. The main character went to the doctor, and she said that this was not a problem for him, but in return she said that the main character was not present. They are still not omnipotent. But the main character then asked the girl, she is not going to get along with him then in this case. What stops him from suspecting her of planning an attempt on his life? But the girl immediately decided to lower her level, that is, she told her that this was the first and last time. The doctor also said that Miss Ba transferred from Jiangsu and this is her place. If something happens, she can always contact a doctor. The main characters came closer to the doctor and lifted her chin. He said that he doesn't need others because he doesn't like to bother them. Everything that the doctor knew, she had already told the main character, so they shouldn't stress the girl too much. She's a new person and organization. Therefore, the guy replied that there was no problem. He would take good care of her. The doctor also said that their organization is secret, but at the same time huge. It is impossible to even imagine how much. The branches she manages in Jiangxi and Jiangnan are still few. As they say, this organization has its representatives all over the world, who have the right to vote at the highest levels, as well as a huge number of different materials for research. Internal conflicts are quite large-scale. No one disdains to use any means to achieve their own goals, but the influence of the organization in the meeting is probably great, and this is a fact. The main character asked the doctor whether the gates of demons and their people were. After all, she can still organize a meeting with management. The girl got angry. After all, she understood that the hero was again asking for difficult things, but she said that they would end there and he wouldn't see her again. She called and invited Shunair to the Red Diamond nightclub. Already at night, the warehouse guard was tied up and with the help of threads. The guys who did this noticed that suddenly striking was a great idea, and also Mr. Sai ate him behind him. Arena himself hoped that after this night the Diamond Gate organization would no longer exist. And after all, as soon as they figure it out here, their next goals will be the main character. The guy himself was already standing on the balcony. Came to them. After all, the main character wanted to see her. He asked her if she had any plans for the Demon Gate. It's easy to say that Milena has any relation to the Euro where it is, that he established then. The girl replied that the gentleman likes to keep things under control. Demon Star, and if he had not done this then, no one knows whether a large number of people would have survived. The girl knelt down and said that for the master of the Imperial Army, the Demon Gate Army was already ready and she was ready to serve him. The girl was a guard of the demonic Imperial Army. He immediately remembered her. The strength of the Alliance Chen sat on the man's pipe. A man approached him and addressed him as a gentleman and said that others had already checked the situation, and it seemed that there was nothing wonderful there. Sangai started licking her knife with a thing and said that the Alliance did not skimp this time. They called both Ji and Sha. Apparently they are not serious about destroying the Demon Gate. He definitely liked it. Another part of the Alliance's strength also appeared. Ji. They returned everything here but turned it over, but found no traces of these two. Chen replied that the guys were lucky, because if those two were here, the 5 of them would no longer be alive. Mrs. Kina appeared, and Chen himself said that since their Lord Heavenly Brace stood up for them, consider that today is their 2nd birthday. The gentleman said that everyone had to calm down and they did not want to have a body with him. The guy also said that Ji seemed to have met but this time we need to deal with her once and for all, and he and Chen will look for demons and try to detain them. The main character himself was already driving a car on the bridge. He understood that they were definitely going the right way, and he hoped that this was still the right and fastest route. After all, there was a huge traffic jam ahead. The girl herself removed from the car and said that they were like that. I turned to my master. After all, the navigator says that this is the fastest way. Yes, the main character told the girl to hold on screaming. Now he will show what it means quickly. The girl, of course, was very surprised, because for the first time she saw the Demon Emperor in action. It was an ideal option to get rid of the traffic jam. Miss Bai really thought that the demonic stars had arrived. The main character answered her that she had already become part of one rather strange organization. Was it really so difficult for her to believe that he was the reincarnation of demon emperors? A girl appeared in the sky, that is. Then the ER said that she was ready to deal with her. The main character, of course, wished her luck. The guys met in a car. The guy started a fight right in the car. Or even injure a girl in such a way that her clothes are torn. Suddenly a huge boulder flew into the car. It was too much of a greeting instead of a ceremony. The girl turned to her master and said that this is the husband of the alliance, and among them there is Ji and Shu. Their abilities can be given to Alessia for a special wound. The main character understood that the life energy of strong creatures and a real delicacy would be his festive dinner today. But the girl wanted to become his protector, because the main character must deliver Miss a safe place, and for now, she is becoming theirs. He, the hero, understood that the girl in the car herself caused a lot of problems, in which one could not simply be included. He knocked on her window and told her to hide better and be alert. Or couldn't let the main character fight alone, but he told her not to interfere because he was ready to figure it out himself. My girlfriend remembered that the same demon emperor was sitting right in front of the days, that he fought with heaven and earth. Or switch to yourself, Zhang. And the main character ordered the rest of the guys to act and attack him. The main character immediately summoned his beast with a point which with one cry threw away most of the opponents. The guys, of course, did not understand where this lev came from. Others called the main character very arrogant, and it was his mistake for the main character to call them weaklings. Ji, as expected, a demon member, is still capable of something. They were absolutely calm. They attacked her from behind and all in a crowd. Then she asked the girl what she was counting on. If she doesn't tell her, she'll have to force her. The girl replied that their goal is only to delay and to stop the main character's goal. Those 5 ops are a real reset. None of them are progressive after all this time, but she'll sort it out now. The women used the shaft stone to turn these people into zombies, and order him to kill the main character. The main character forbade his assistant to come here. The main character realized that these scum had learned to use masks, because the main character was careless. Decided to sacrifice himself in order to protect the main character. Then come in and Ji approached him, which pierced him right through. And she also noticed that their emperor was a demon, and it was time for him, his gods and demons, to return to hell. The girl decided to run away and said that the naked hero would remember this freshly in the next life as well, and he will express that he dared to offend. Hero began to use the bloody spirit demon killing technique. He simply had no other option. Only the girl again wanted from someone. She was already tied up. The hero was ready to show her all the suffering, and he would regret that the bitch was born. One movement in his hand, he destroyed the sword, which was solid through and through. The main character ran up to She was passed out. Miss Bai ran up to the guys, carrying clothes in her hands, in order for the girl to cover her breasts. She needs it full. Then the main character gave it to the girl. Suitable places for this. Bai asked what happened to the girl who was in Kopala. The main character said that her soul is making her dissolve, and she will become his bloody marionette Koi. She hurt his man, then she deserves it. The girl herself was carried away because this guy really looks like a good thing in Ada, and it's better not to quarrel with him. The main character looked at his assistant and realized that her soul was fine. He managed to stabilize her. Now the internal wounds needed to be taken care of. The curse itself reads that the power of the mask carries within itself has already penetrated her body. It will not be easy. Therefore, he asked the girl to step aside because he needed to cure her. The main character undressed the girl and said that this was all in order to save her, and she shouldn't blame him later. He had to transfer energy to her. Bai moved closer to the sphere, and suddenly 2 spirits, black and white, appeared and asked where was. The girl immediately replied that she was in the car. They flew there. Again, Ji appeared and stood in the way of the spirits. But they didn't immediately decapitate her and also cut several parts on her, but she was able to successfully recover. The main character entered from the highest. He understood that these were spirits, demons of heaven and earth. Bai already remembered them. These are those who are called the greatest power of the evil demons. The bloody puppet was unable to detain them. These 2 Navid dolls are very real. Bai asked the main character where he sent this puppet because it was very strong. He said that he had some business to do. He needs a lot more options. 2 guys were sitting on the balcony and drinking coffee at the same table for the minister of the Wanhejia headquarters in Jiangdong Lin Haoyuan, and also a grandfather who sat down to take care of his granddaughter. He promised that if his headquarters is in this city, he can assure the gentleman that nothing will happen to his granddaughter. She will be in perfect order. Sai came to the guys. He immediately turned to Deputy Lin, saying that this only concerned the Lin family and the main character, and they should not interfere. The old man got into the conversation and turned to his sister that it seemed to them that they were allowing themselves too much. They drove their car right into his yard and demanded that he provide them with a man, here he is some kind of thing. S tried to grab the deputy, but he in turn deflected his blow, and he said that he understood that nothing had connected them for a long time, but there was no need to give up. Why, their organization takes on too much. But the deputy didn't care about the main character, but now the guy himself is in the Bai family's house. The guy turned to the old man and said that he wanted to let the main character find him himself, but hoped that the old man would not interfere. The deputy also asked his master what he thought about this. He replied that their family likes to set conditions. But the main character saved a life. He will never agree to such things. S noticed that it was brave, but she still gave 3 days of reflection. If the main character himself did not come to him, then 8 Bais would disappear from the world forever. The main character also noticed while they were sitting in the room that the Leng family does not take their eyes off the Bai family, and he was just thinking about this, how they could distance themselves a little. The hero also bets that the family already knows about everyone with whom he maintains any relationship in this city. The family doesn't care about him, so Len isn't particularly interested, so all that remains is her family. The girl understood that she needed to return as soon as possible and tell her grandfather about everything. Now they are the most vulnerable to themselves. Also noted and turned to the girl, saying that she no longer needed to defend her house, because one of the Leng family burst into it, and her grandfather said that he would not stop Mr. Demon Emperor. The main character understood that in case of law, it is necessary to adopt a plan. He suggested that they will return to the family home and protect Linlan, Qian, and Angxi, and Dulan and the main character will take care of the rest. 2 guys came to the hotel and booked 1 room for a week, precisely presidential. The cashier said that they only have 2 presidential rooms and both are already taken. The main character showed his black card with a dot and said that perhaps he could somehow solve this problem. The girl ran away and asked the guys to wait for 1 minute. Their manager could help. The main character was able to penetrate one office with the help of his murderous aura, and he was already standing above the guy. Of course, the guy didn't want such a main character with a knife, but the main character was able to easily dodge. After all, it doesn't matter from now on, he's his hiding puppet. The main character used bloody shackles. Now this man belonged to the main character. The guy asked the puppet what he wanted. Behind it stood the main character of the point, who said that he was here to help him. The main character introduced himself and said that his name is Ye Feng. Of course he understands that now is not the best time, but the main character wanted the guy to listen to him. He has 2 options to swear an oath to him and serve him, or he will become a bloody puppet. The guy was not going to live serving the main character. He used his magic to create fog, and he broke the window to escape. He understood that this main character is incredibly dangerous. He should have already warned Mr. Sai. The main character, of course, did not want to spend such a height, but his puppet flew after the guy. Using the weapon, the couple was able to break 1 window and fly out of the room through the window. A puppet was already flying behind him, which was destroyed at that very moment. The guy came to his master directly on the yacht. The guy said that the elders were extremely dissatisfied with the current state of affairs from the guy as the head of the unit, and did not expect more, to the point where he uses the Shay against them. And not only did he escape alone, but he also has the conscience to come here. That's why the gentleman told him not to come back, until he kills the main character. The main character came out of the guy, who was even able to recover from his attack. He noticed that he was the main character. But who would have thought that the couple himself would be so cruel to his subordinates? And his abilities are quite interesting. But the guy managed to speak when he again used his light to destroy the main character, more precisely, his shadow. Now he had no time to talk to corpses. He understood that this main character was radically different from all previous time travelers. And now the guy has to report this to the top. The main character was sitting in his room watching the city, and I understood that it looked like this lens would not be so easy to deal with. But his room assistant came to him and said that he had settled everything, so he asked his master if they should leave this place. But the main character offered his assistant a drink. After all, a great show awaits them soon. The protagonist's fat friend stood right at the entrance to the hotel and informed his subordinates that since he had been appointed manager of this club, he would be their leader. Then he watched Lan, who was surprised himself. How did he not get tired of all this? He continued to do it all until 1 o'clock. Well, he still wasn't tired. Lan take the guy to talk. After all, 1 person came to him. He needed a main character, it was the general. He approached the main character and wanted to give him an envelope. After all, one of the associations handed it to him to give it to him, and he must know that the alliance is not united. Then the main character asked whose man he was. When he received the letter, the main character told his assistant to accompany Zhao. Suddenly, at one point, one patient began to die. Therefore, the doctor came out from there and said that it was necessary to carry out an operation, that is. The girl immediately ran up to him and promised him that he would fall with him, only he had to pay for her mother's operation. After all, she cleans. The guy, of course, asked the girl if she knew who he was, but she replied that it doesn't matter at all. If he goes to save her mother, she will owe him her life. Of course, the girl, or rather the protagonist's friend, promised herself that she would never, even if it costs your life, confuse him with this. The main character ordered his spy to keep track of all this, and find out who is behind him, for Zhao. Lan was already standing next to the car, and he asked Zhao directly how many people they had in the alliance. Zhao replied that he was a fairly large-scale organization. It was not surprising that various people gathered there. Even this meeting would be quite difficult to keep secret. Already in the car, Zhao asked on the phone whether this main character was really worth such an effort. He has been a member of the Alliance for many years and is always noticed for his outstanding warmth. However, the fan definitely has no equal. But if anyone finds out about Mr. Len Xi's plan, that is, the guy himself is not mistaken, then Len Xi will also face the fate of dying at the hands of Ye Feng. Lan asked that these people needed time and strength to return to the demonic star, but did not know whether they could be trusted. The main character replied that he still needs to learn new things, and he should not forget these words. If their interests coincide, the sons use each other to please themselves, and they want to use them as experimental subjects and gain their knowledge. And now, however, they are unable to do anything. In any case with the guys, there will be a person who wants to cooperate with him, and the main character correctly noticed this. Since there is a request, they must answer it. The information that Len Xi is planning to visit Anxi and blackmail the main characters seems to have been carried out, and this girl was already calling the phone. The subscriber was unavailable, so the phone asked to call back later. The main character immediately ordered his assistant to go protect her, not even to return with bad news. He has yet to unravel what she is hiding. Asni was sitting alone in the hospital. Right in the corridor, she was very worried about her mother, but a man approached her, and he said that it looks like she has very bad problems and she needs money. She answered positively. The men were surprised because the main character couldn't even help her, and it was an amazing fact that the girl was his friend. But she replied that she simply did not want to exchange all her friends and relatives with anyone. Already at night, Lan ran to the hospital where he met a couple of familiar faces along the way. Sai immediately drove the boy away. I told him to get out of the way, he's trash. Nobody allowed him to ask him a question. Lan responded by saying that the girl is important for the main character. She is his protection, and he should leave. The guy started fighting. After the first blow, Lan immediately realized that this guy was him, and that won't work, he must protect the girl. So he again rushed at the guy, got hit, and flew straight into the air. When he was falling, the guy jumped up and decided to finish him off. The girl's mother is sick, so why didn't she ask the main character for money? And in response, she said that it was too difficult, and she thought that she could cope on her own. So she asked not to harm the main character. After all, he just wanted to pick her up and she would go. The guy replied that he was the first to come here and that the land crossed his path. As they say, a good dog does not bother passers-by, but if it is poorly trained, the owner should bear responsibility. The guy also said that his family keeps their word. Moreover, this has nothing to do with the girl and her mother, so he ordered her to investigate him. She realized that he seemed to be a good person after all. But if he came across using her to harm the main character, then she would never ask him for it. The main character himself cultivated in his office. He remembered that the bloody puppet was killed through a beam of light. I need to restore the blood. But the main character was interrupted by his friend, who called him on the phone. He said that his childhood friend was in Sai, and so he decided to come to him in person. The main character did not hesitate and immediately rushed at the guy, but all he heard in response was that the main character came to a farewell party, which he arranged especially for him, and the girl herself lay as if dead, but she was still breathing. Then the main character became interested in what this man was trying to do with her. Why is it called a wedding? It's trying to be a parting funeral gift. No one will help him unless he or doesn't care about the Bai family, because the guy has already sent his people there. The main character warmed up when he was a tech star, Things like this were more than just habits for him. A guy stood up in front of the main character to defend his enemy, after which it was divided into two parts. Also appeared among the ears that jumped up to appear behind the main character. But the main character immediately called his lion, and the girls fell. A man with an axe also appeared. The hero really needed his head, but he didn't care anymore, and with the help of his scythe, he broke it into two parts. He, the hero, began to suck the life energy from these people, and first of all he told his enemy to hold back no longer. He collected some equipment for him, a bloody child. The child was born straight from the balloon. More people appeared around the area and had already laid down on the ground. Sai said that this was the end, because who would have thought that the main character could survive an attack by more than 100 special forces, so he is forced to admit that the main character. But the enemy understood that the hero's strength was almost S rank, and he didn't catch him much. However, he has 100% no chance of hollowing with him. That beam of light that flew towards the main character was successfully reflected with the help of his scythe, and she said that this was all wonderful. The accumulation of his vital energy is worth all his expectations. Sai assured the main character that he should be grateful that he would personally kill him. The main character understood that for the sake of this, he abandoned his enemy's cash register. And right away, the child also took out his scythe and began to reflect the blows of his son. He, hero, also took out his weapon and began to continue attacking. The main character was able to throw the guy away with the help of his energy and also wound him in the chest. And he noticed that he had to admit he was a strong guy, but this would not help him gain respect against the main character. She herself answered that the main character was the strongest of all the time travelers he had ever met, so he suggested that they have a lot of fun. Of course, the guys are the protagonist's guard, but he did not give up and offered to continue attacking. Stronger. The guy began to attack the main character. But the main character did not feel the blows and called the couple a weakling. Someone was hanging out talking again, but he didn't use his power. Therefore, the main character decided to do it himself. He gained the strength of the guy who hit himself, and he said that it was wonderful so that resistance does not turn out to be boring. The main character also said that there are many time travelers, but he is the only one. Therefore, he immediately rushed at the guy himself, and when he broke the stick, I was able to free the girl who I immediately caught in my arms. He told her not to be afraid because everything was fine, but then they attacked him in the back. The girl, of course, asked what she was doing here, but everything that the main character said so that she wouldn't worry. It doesn't matter. She just needs to help him thanks to the alliance. So she decided to leave it to herself, and she ran. Sai needed to contact the main character. The main character ordered the girls to grab the rest and get out of here as quickly as possible, and he himself would sort it out here. Sai told the guys not to even try to escape because no one dares to spoil his plans. Well, the main character would not have allowed such a girl. Well, then the main character looked to be jammed, and he even started bleeding from his eyes and mouth. Sai laughed. When the main character fell into a spin, it all started with this woman, so today he would deal with her first to pay tribute to his deceased family member. The main character says come to his senses. He understood that it was a huge, violent life energy, but fortunately, he managed to cultivate the power of the bloody puppets, and so he immediately attacked the guy right in the face. The guy took the beam onto the main character and easily bent it. Sai asked an interesting question, which was that he himself did not fully understand where the main character got such strength that he could even block his blow. And just now he was sitting there infuriating, but now he may well resist. The main character answered that this is all, and you are strength apart from his life energy, and he also receives strength by receiving the energy of other beings. He is his last on the way to ES rank. And finally, the main character was still able to chop the guy. He decided to come to the two girls and back, and he told them that he had already returned and that was the end. They began to examine the main character. The girl asked for this because after the battle it was simply impossible to get out of the water unscathed, and the girl exploded that something was clearly wrong with him. Anxie asked Bai what happened, with brother. She explained that he only got scratched with one not very personable guy, so now he needs to be examined. You need to make sure that he doesn't hurt. Lin Lan didn't understand what to do next. She was worried that he wouldn't get them anymore. These heard that the status of the Leng family is quite high. Replied that the top of the alliance is the ruling alliance, but you never even hear about its existence. The family alone is not the core of this union. Of course, they asked her how she knew all this. But Bai entered the dialogue and explained that in this world, One Hijia is aware of most of the events that are happening. The main character is confident that all the property of the Len and Gun families in the city can be taken over by peaceful means. His friend proved himself to be quite good during this whole time. The old man also confirmed that, as expected from all of them, Mr. Yefeng should remain in the city. But the alliance would certainly do something else. Perhaps it would be a good idea to contact his family. But the main character said that he already had his own plan on the notes. Already at night, Madame Len was asked what she thought. She explained that her brother had already died, and that is why she was very surprised. The man also explained that all the elders of the alliance have already been notified about this. But this information about the death of her brother is quite enough to just be a file. But the girl was worried that her safety was paramount. But the man thought that she already understood perfectly well that the current situation was without calm for quite a lot of people. And Mr. Sai had the greatest combat power, but now he is not there. Her family is wealthy enough to afford personal security. Then the girl came closer to the guy and explained that she could sell herself 90% of the family's assets, but she would only need to protect her. The man asked her not to worry because the city would take care of everything. It's the law again. The girl was ready to sell another 10%. If a man kills the main character, the man explained that it would be quite reckless. After all, Wanhe is an influential person who does not benefit from this, so therefore they will not be able to complete this task. Bai was very surprised. She asked her question how influential Wanhe was because they had Ling Yu's company at their disposal. The guy approached Miss Bai, and the man also asked how things were with the main character. The girl explained to him that he had grown up and was not the time to tinker too much with the assets of the Lang and Gong families. After all, it seems that he is very busy with the past of Anxi. Well, he said that it was convenient to talk with him here, so he asked to come inside the office. When the guys went inside, what is Lin going to say? Perhaps it will turn her picture of the world upside down, so he asked if she was ready to dry it. The girl could tell the main character what she saw fit. After all, there are still some powerful people waiting for him. Already in the main character's office, he ordered his assistant to find information about his girlfriend Anxi, because she was as similar as possible to his sister from her previous life. But there was nothing special about her. But Bai just recently told the main character that Wanhe has the information he needs. They want secret information about the Demon Star in return. Replied that it was absolutely impossible. But the methods of the main character are not subject to every person. Therefore, he decided to go to meet them after all, and to talk. Anxi turned to the main character and said that only yesterday he was attacked. Today Anya has already come for a walk in pairs, and she was very worried whether this act was safe. The main character replied that they all met with friends, and everything would be fine. Or noticed that the gentleman went just to be with her so that he could protect the little girl. The main character asked Bai if she really missed him. To meet him, you need to make an agreement in advance, and by the way, he doesn't do it for free. But they are not strangers, so he made a small discount for her. The guys decided to go away and talk. There was already a tench sitting at the table. The main character was surprised because the girl didn't tell him that someone else would be here. She explained that this was the deputy general secretary of their branch in the city, and he is the head of the Lin Haoyuan department. The man offered to sit down, straight to the table. The main character said that she doesn't like all these lingering tea parties, so he decided to end it as soon as possible. He needs information on 2 specific cases, and they will receive information about the Demon Star right now. The man replied that it seems the main character has some warnings about their organization. Last night these 2 vermin broke into his house. Therefore, he had to get rid of them, so he asked the hero's mother if he would mind. The main character said that he would forget what happened last night, but he asked the boss to still answer his question. But the man replied that as long as it does not go beyond your authority, he will give him an answer to any of his questions. The main character asked about his friend Azni, whether she was a traveler between worlds. The man confirmed the information because the main character himself knows the origin of this world. But her situation was confusing and special. Therefore, he could not reveal details. The main character decided to pass the second question. Therefore, he asked what the man would do. The hero decides to get rid of his family. But the man ignored this question. The guys decided to tell their grandfather this. O was surprised that he, the hero, was apparently going to take the place of the head of the family. The Yi family has good connections in Wanhe. He must have asked this question precisely from similar motives. Lin himself understood this perfectly well. They calmly said that this family is one of the most property-rich and wealthy in the country. Its influence extends to all spheres of life, and its strength is simply amazing. Even Bai was surprised that the main character was so brave. that he wants to fight against the whole family, not to mention the Alliance. Anxie asked the hero's mother if everything was okay. He replied that he was thinking, that's why she was silent. He understood perfectly well that she was not his sister. Her part of Huang Er's soul was destroyed. Only part of it is in the girl's body, so he did not see any connection between them. Then suddenly the Lan himself came running and told the gentleman that we had already found out what he asked. He found the girl the main character was looking for. She was located at the Alliance headquarters. Then the main character replied that there was no need to wait, and we needed to go there as soon as possible. Before that, I asked to take the girl to mine. These same guys had their own affairs. The main character arrived at the mansion, when he showed his black card and they calmly let him through. He arrived at the Alliance treasury, and there must be exactly what he was looking for inside. There was an ER sitting in the car with him, who didn't understand because she had been able to interact with the Alliance for so long, but she never managed to find out such important information. Therefore, I did not understand how the gentleman managed to find out about this. He explained that it was all a secret. The guys got out of the car and were about to go inside the building. May, of course, did not understand what the main character's plan was, because in the end this organization managed to help settle the situation with the Len family. But with the Alliance, it would be a different matter. The main character wanted to move to a more comfortable place. He ordered his subordinates to go check this place because he needed information. The main character saw that the Bai family was also invited, and it seems that this organization has more information than one could imagine. The girl herself said that Anxie's soul is gradually fading away. If they don't find another part of her soul, then you will soon be completely gone. Is sure that the gentleman probably already knows about this, so she asked her sister directly for this reason and not just here. The girl found the box. Therefore, asked why she didn't give this to the gentleman directly. She replied that every time she sees this guy, she wants to strangle him. The main character also noticed a safe in the building, and noticed that there were no CCTV cameras anywhere, and this was a little strange even for him. But he considered this unimportant. Using his finger, he summoned Zhao, who was able to break the safe with his strength. Inside, the main character saw a huge amount of gold and treasures. It contained more than half of the heritage values of the peoples of other planets, which were destroyed when he was on the Demon Star. There are unpleasant secrets in this world, so he needs to understand everything thoroughly. But now your priority is to preserve the soul of his girlfriend. Suddenly, Zhao was attacked by your guard, who himself noted that this treasury of the Alliance is not so easy to get into. He immediately realized that this guy in front of him was a puppet, or most likely a demon. But even if so, he would be ready to defeat him. The main character was shocked. From what he saw, he didn't understand how a monster from the Great Heaven clan could be here. How has it been possible to achieve such cultivation success by the standards of this world, and his strength can be classified as S rank, but his strength is intelligent. Therefore, he could not lose to him now. He needed to save his girlfriend, so he summoned 2 ghosts and descended on her. The guy was even surprised that the main character dared to go down, so he asked to tell him his name, because he doesn't like killing nameless strangers. The main character named the guy. What he immediately began to understand was that the main character in front of him was a demonic star, but all the guy asked was whether the main character wanted to say something in the end. The hero has already decided to attack the guy. With his perfume, he was able to spin them so that they created a cycle. The main character decided to use this, and he created a spear of seized souls. Well, the guy, with the help of only one hand, was able to stop the attack. The main character started shouting at the guy. After all, the guy's clan, the legacy of the Great Heavens, rampaged through the monistic stars and were chosen as the main hero. Now he realized that he did not destroy everyone, and he is going to correct this mistake. The guy was surprised because this was a thing that was heading straight at him and had enormous power of destruction. But suddenly the full hero pierced the guy's chest because he was distracted. Finally, the main character said that they kept shouting about morality and justice, but in reality they themselves were worse than wild animals. It feels impossible to die from the ruler. Of course, the guy asked to let him go because he could be useful to him and do his dirty work. But the main character called him useless and threw him right away. After all, then there are probably few of his old acquaintances in the world. Okay, the hero decided to go further inside the vault where he saw a tripod with an accumulation of souls, and his assistant actually conveyed the correct information. But then a guard appeared behind the main character, who immediately attacked him and said that there was a huge hero who dared to show such cruelty. There is no need to expect mercy from him. The main character stood up and said that it was time for the guy to finish. because he constantly thinks that he likes to listen to this nonsense. But no. Then the guy rushed again at the main character, but the main character will easily dodge, and he said that the guard was uneasy with him. Of course, he has 3 seconds to realize that this is his end. The main character attacked the guy again. More precisely, he threw out the stubborn air and explained that his clan is humane and fair everywhere, but they are charlatans who do absolutely nothing. The spirits of the main character grabbed the guy. The main character stood right in front of the guy who was hanging in the air with the help of the spirits, and he explained that the demonic star sacrificed hundreds of 1,000 people in order to finally destroy his clan. Using the accumulated anger and resentment, the underworld developed a special technique, his generation of heaven. Then the guy grabbed the main characters right by the head, and he began to shout very loudly, saying that the demonic star should have been destroyed even then. Allowing the slaves to live was a terrible mistake of the patriarchy. The main character even laughed at this answer, and the guy considered himself a hero and their kind. Therefore he said sarcastically that they would erect a huge monument to the guard. It began to crack even louder and froze in the air. The main character switched back to the collection of souls. After all, who would have thought that there would be such a treasure here? Now he could help his friend. And this time he will go to another place. The main character promised himself that he would definitely find out. What then happened on the demonic star? Bai was in the car. She saw that the main character was very happy, so she asked him why he felt so good. He decided not to answer this question. Then a huge statue of Gurgly appeared right in front of the car and was able to destroy the car. With your presence. Only the gargoyle wanted to attack the main character, but he outwitted her and started the battle first. He hit her right on the head, causing her to fall straight onto her back. Another one also appeared that could fly and flew straight towards the main character. Yu decided to play with her a little. Well, when he got tired of it, he hit her and also sent her very far away. He ordered the man to come out because he noticed his presence. Of course, the unknown guy himself was surprised that even the main character could detect him, and said that there was so much effort to make him appear. Then he asked the hero if he really wanted to deal with him. Years the heroes called the guy a cockerel. After all, someone is seriously forcing him. The guy told who he is, the head of the Great Heavens Legacy clan in the 67th generation, and the main character on gold who tore apart the treasury of the Alliance and killed his student. The main character understood this name. He remembers this man once. He killed him, and that means this time he can do the same. When the guy wanted to attack the main character, he appeared next to him and said that he had already seen these techniques. But suddenly the Gorgon appeared right behind the back of the main character and was able to carry his blow, and why he flew away several meters. Of course, Argon began to beat the main character, not giving him a chance to approach his enemy. After all, in fact, there were 5 statues. Together, they began to destroy the main character, but he decided to use his form. The enemy, the main character, realized who was now in front of him and understood that now he could finally take revenge. But the main character himself is several times stronger, and either such enemies could not harm him. Even the main character noticed that the guy had become much weaker during all this time. Create a puppet with your life force. Even the main character noticed a resourceful and very stupid thing. The guy himself said that the main character was originally rank S, so I didn't understand how he rose so quickly. The main character explained that he didn't do anything ordinary, he just ate everyone who got in his way. After a minor fight, the main character approached the guy and was able to pierce his abs, and even in this world, he will die at the hands of the main character. Suddenly there are women with their guards. It was Grandma Shan. The guy ordered his grandmother to quickly kill the main character, but she told him to shut up. Even the main character did not understand what was wrong with this old woman, because in just a moment her aura completely changed. This strength is comparable to his before moving into this world. She greeted the main character on behalf of the ancestors of the Alliance. The old woman did not wish the main character harm. He didn't understand what the woman was talking about because they all attacked the ghostly gate. And then she explained that he had misunderstood. Tell them to target them only. After all, they just wanted to check whether they were strong enough to be absorbed by them. No matter what world the main character is in, the fittest survives everywhere. It's all a misunderstanding. She will deal with her subordinates who was responsible for this. Therefore, I asked the hero if he was interested in joining them. He answered in the negative. Immediately, the main character was taken over by his assistant and reported that something was wrong with his girlfriend's soul. There is no need to return as quickly as possible. Of course, the guy turned to his grandmother and asked if they should force the main character to join them. To which she answered that there was no need for this. She just needed to let him go. Then the guy asked why the ancestors ordered him to be found. But before them appeared the man who became famous for his ambitions. He immediately asked his grandmother what she was doing here, but she replied that he did not make a fool of himself. After all, it was he himself who ordered Sha to find the main character, and he shouldn't think that Grandma doesn't know the true reasons for this. Grandmother knows very well that the man himself uses Zhao for his own personal purposes, and he should not forget that we have to keep an eye on him. The main character ran into the room where his girlfriend was lying. He asked his assistant how she was feeling now. He explained that her condition was stable, but not for long. But it's okay. The main character already knew what to do. He took the bottle straight from his pocket, and she said that Bai gave him this because now he needs to use it. The girls poured it into their mouths, and there the main character began to use. In your treasure for clarity. Also came into the room. The hero fell to one knee. He understood that he had just stabilized her soul, but in the future he would need to do much more. He needs a shower too, namely a soul-healing needle, but even the girl did not understand where she could find it because it was a huge treasure. Even during the existence of the demonic star, it was incredibly difficult to find. Then the main character explained that he would create it himself. It would take a lot of money and materials, so no one knew if they should go looking for them. But in the beginning, the main character needed to call his friend. When he called his friend, he heard the sound of a shot because the nightclub was attacked, and the guys decided to rush there straight away. The main character came to a nightclub and secretly began to keep track of where everyone was. Well, there was no one except his friend who stood and behaved somehow strangely. He also greeted our guys. Then the main character asked what happened at the end because he understood that something was wrong. Zhao appeared in front of the guys, which decided to attack the main character. The guys started a fight. The main character has already decided to take his form, but it doesn't seem like the guy's actions completely understood that this is all the plan of those who stand behind him. Zhao did not answer this question, but then the main character did not want to ask. Here in the Anxi hospital it became very bad. Understood that her condition was not stable again, and she would not last that long. Well, Grandpa came into the room, who told the girl that he would look after him, and now the hospital was under the protection of his family. And since the girl herself is worried about her master if she should go there and help him, so she decided to do so. The main character understood that she appreciated Zhao less. The guy himself cast a spell directly on the main character. Then a seal appeared right underneath it. The main character felt bad, and, having a premonition about this, he decided to use his labor form. And he simply wanted to try to attack the guy again. Because this feeling really is because this guy and him, he feels like he's missing out on something. And just like that, without even reaching him, the protagonist's assistant appeared and decided to help him. Zhao inflated his mouth with the help of energy, and was able to cause enormous damage over an area, and even tried to injure the girl. After which he again decided to use this technique against the main character himself, who sat right in front of him. After the explosion, the huge hero was covered in smoke. The hero began to fall, and he landed on the ground. His assistant ran up to him and tried to restore his senses. But here, a huge amount of energy was collected directly into one ball of this in order to completely destroy the main character. He flew to the main character. Zhao said that the complete hero was dead. He received an order to return. The next day, grandfather cannot reach the main character. Bai also didn't understand what he was doing. After all, the girl will not be able to last long in bed. Lan ran into the room, who was looking for the main character. But the grandfather explained that he never returned to the hospital. As it turned out, the main character remained alive and stood behind the hospital. He remembered that Zhao himself, before the last blow, explained to him that I was pressing on time. Now was not the best moment, but he talked about the reasons. Due to the fact that Ilyas laid eyes on the main character, unrest began. Therefore, the guys himself asked to make them younger if he wants to figure everything out. Later, he will explain everything to him again, and he doesn't even have time to think at home. The main character walked past the patrolmen, which were located on each floor. But there was only one room in the building and from which vital energy emanated. The main character approached the woman. It was Zhao's wife. She immediately got scared, but the hero asked the waves not to make unnecessary sounds. The main character finished with this when he pulled her out. Now he needs to quickly return and check on his friend. The main character was noticed, and the grandfather himself was able to wound him with his bow. The man was amazed because his assistant said that the main character died, and now he is healthy in front of him. The main character understood that kidnapping someone else's woman and expecting someone's loyalty is stupid. The man asked to call the woman. The hero showed her tail from her head. Then the man immediately approached to grab her. But then her fiancé appeared who wanted to come to her defense. He wanted to detain the man in order to enable the main character to escape. Then the man decided to create rockets, which were destroyed by the hurricane. Finally, the groom asked the main character to run away, and then the old man himself was able to pierce him right through. The men explained that those people who betrayed him deserved death, but then the main character filled him and pushed him very far. He decided to take on his true form. The old woman herself ordered her soldiers to go and help the main character and her old man. At the last moment, he noticed 2 stars. He understood that this was an old woman. This could pose a problem, so even he needed to retreat temporarily. The main character also appeared behind the river, which is why it fell, and he asked the main character where he got such strength. Only the main character wanted to kill the guy. He was stopped by the old woman's guards, and she said to wait. They decided to activate their technique in order to shackle the old man. Of course, the main character asked the guys who they were, but they knew that the grandmother ordered them to come and help the main character and take the target alive. The old woman herself found herself in the air next to the main character, and she said to leave it to them, and Zhao himself needs him. After all, he was still breathing. He is a hero, and he did. He ran up to the guy. The guy's wife was fine. He temporarily sent her to another space. The old woman herself began a dialogue with the man. As she said, she had been following him for a long time. Therefore, I asked him directly to teach the instructions. He follows. Suddenly, the building was struck by lightning. The man already knew what was happening. Suddenly, a seal appeared over the building, and the old man died. After all, he was pierced right through. The guys were surprised. The grandmother noticed that such a huge aura had already disappeared, so she was not in danger of anything. Zhao told that his boss followed some man along the coast. He was always there these days. No one had ever seen his face. He also said that he is incredibly strong and can even influence the Alliance's decisions on some issues. The old woman was simply shocked. After all, in this world there are no such people who were unknown. She also knows that he used some kind of warehouse to contact him, and Grandma had better check it out. Zhao also said that you, his boss, were fragments of his girlfriend of the main character. Now that the guy was strangling the main character, we need to hurry back to the hospital. I really felt for my friend. Already at the hospital, he asked his grandfather how the girls were feeling there. I just said that the main character has finally returned, and the girl herself is feeling worse and worse. Now there was no need to make a shower. The main character took parts of the soul. I decided to use them. When in the past, the girl herself asked one guy what was in his soul when he looked at his own planet. Well, the man was sure that if the girl's older brother found out about this, that she decided to destroy this planet, he would come to faith. He really wants to see what kind of expression he has. The main character once in the past at the same moment had a strange and premonition. He didn't understand why the 3 great masters had already been defeated, but for some reason nothing left him alone. The main character's sister herself began to fall onto the planet as if it were a meteorite. She decided to destroy the demonic star. As the Empress of the Starry Sky, her soul must endure the power of the demonic star array. Eventually, both the array and the soul will be destroyed. And the main character felt as if the protective array of demonic stars had been torn, and that's why he didn't understand what happened. The main character saw that his sister was falling on the planet. He was very surprised, but he needed to act quickly. But one moment, the same man who did all this to his sister threw him from behind. Already in the hospital, the main character finally remembered what happened. He was the master of the demonic star, but someone decided to bring intrigue. This is a man. He doesn't yet know who he really is. But they called the phone. He was informed that they had found that man's hiding place. As the main character, it is better for him to join them. Therefore, he told the grandfather that she had to take care of the girl and he had urgent business. The main character arrived to the old woman, who reported that here is the warehouse in which they spoke. The guys went inside where there was a huge amount of treasure. A man from the bushes watched all this. He was very surprised that the old woman decided to declassify this place, but he understood perfectly well that the things should not have been discovered. And so I decided to blow everything up. He pulled the lever dedicatedly and a huge explosion occurred. He was glad that everything went well. Now he could have peace of mind and you back. The main character, the old woman, was able to fly out of there on time. But the criminal hero also noticed that he no longer felt his presence. He left, so he decided that he had done the job. Well, the old woman's guards were able to dig up one document in which they spoke about the order to assign a report on the results of the Wanhei investigation. And the man in principle suspected that if Zhao said all this, and it is true, then everything basically fits together. Even the old woman understood that this could become a problem because they could be their opponents. But then the heroes called to tell him to return to the hospital. Therefore, the hero said that in the future everything will be decided by the Alliance. The girl woke up and you had already run in, the main character. He directly and immediately asked the girl if she remembered him. She answered positively. Games decided to move away. Not for long. One tower began to collapse. Some guys didn't understand what happened, but it turned out to be the main character who arrived here. The guy himself was very surprised who blew up the guys. That the main character survived, he came here only because he has certain connections with the organization, and then the guy hoped that he was not seen that day. The main character grabbed the guy right by the throat because the guy was a contract person. That old man had a daughter. The guy himself didn't know what he was doing to him. But the main character decided to ask only one question. Miss Bai joined in order to follow him to the organization. They didn't use her for their own purposes, although she didn't know anything about it. The guy wouldn't have it, so he didn't want to lie and told everything. Of course, the main character asked the guy not the rest of the messages. He replied that the second one was in direct contact with him. But an incident occurred at the nightclub. An unknown person attacked everyone, and only the main character's friend remained. Zhao was in the hospital. His wife stood next to him, who apologized for what happened to him because it was all because of her. He asked his wife not to cry. After all, he is still alive. An unknown person entered the room. The main character was flying. He raised that the situation was bad. He still doesn't know who is behind it all. He first had to go back to the hospital. He returned to his girlfriend, who said that she remembered something. The girl explained something about how she flew the demonic star. She was told that everything was bad. An unknown man came to her and said that everything was bad. He got down on one knee and said that the main character lost to 3 rulers. The girl immediately wanted to be taken there. The man decided to use his energy to control the girl. The unknown brought the princess to his master. He praised his excellent RBA. He decided to start the show. The man understood patiently because he wanted to see the pink expression on his face when his beloved planet was destroyed by his own precious sister. First of all, grandfather asked what he could do. After all, the poisonous wolf may be his point. The main character answered him that it was unknown where he had fled. Zhao came to the guys. Then the main character asked him what happened and what. The man explained that someone in this behind her was from his top old man. The main character began to wait and began to search. The main character went down to the very bottom and saw many corpses in the hall. He decided to call his grandfather and to report that the nightclub was completely attacked, and he won't be able to find out who did it. Bai also reported that she had found a clue. When the main character asked her why she brought him here, she said that this was the Qin Shui Hospital, one employee of the Wanhei Association, and should know something. The guys came to the doctor. She was also looking for the main character, but they decided to get closer to the point, and the doctor understood that the main character was being watched by an agent, and he himself most likely already knew about it. She realized that it would be problematic for him to deal with this person. It was a poisonous wolf. Here the main character became very angry, but the main character began to suspect the doctor of something. He asked her whether her boss taught her these words, and based on her answers, he will know whether to kill her or not. She asked the girl to calm down because she had evidence. The girl came to the first floor of the hall and pointed to one of the men. After all, to tell the truth, a few days ago, one of her and follows through such institutions was completely attacked. Someone blew up a research institute, and the cuts on some of the pipes matched the cuts in the nightclub. And someone saw a twisted wolf at the time of the explosion. The main character realized that the doctor was not lying, and understood that she had to contact this person and the Alliance. When the grandmother called the main character, she asked what happened and he told the report. The main character was about to go to the doctor's headquarters. Already inside, the poisonous wolf was carrying a chubby baby. The poisonous wolf was sure that no one would come for the guy and no one would come to save him. The guys stopped and asked who they were and why they were here. The poisonous wolf replied that judging by the level of the guard, he has no right to ask something like that. And he told him to mind his own business, so they decided to move on. Lin decided to ask for a poisonous wolf. Why did he receive the same blow and fly back? This was his warning, he should not meddle here. The main character came back to the doctor's organization. They realized that the poisonous wolf was already here. Lin told the main character that the poisonous wolf took his friend. Suddenly robots appeared around the guys. The main character was able to finish off the robots in an instant. He was also asked if he was hurt. He answered in the negative. The doctor wondered why the Wanhei robots attacked in the first place. Suddenly, the main character felt a strange sound, and at the same moment a huge robot appeared. Immediately, without a statement, he began to attack the main character, but he was able to block. He also ordered the rest of the guys a third in both. The main character ordered the robot to get out of his way, but the robot took it and threw it. O didn't want to get rid of it. Then the main character took his cash register and began to attack the robot. He looked at the girls, whom he took the same for the robot. He helped one of them, and the second did the same. With the help of your scythe. After one robot, he saw a beacon. To the doctor, it looked familiar. Lin Lan came here and immediately recognized what it was. Think about it, this thing is of great importance. It is also in the relic excavated by their company. Exactly. Therefore, the girl suggested finding a place to talk. It would be better if she showed everything, then asked to follow her. The girl suspected that these women had some significance from the Len family. The items were taken out of hand and placed in the Leng family's warehouse. Now the guys understood perfectly why the poisonous hair was the essence of the main character's friend. The columns of heroes wanted to take a look at the others, so I would suggest they all go together. He stood right in front of the great gate and said that he would go alone. Zaida inside, he realized that he had been going for a long time, but he did not see the end of the attack. He launched his bow and arrow, which lit up around. At the end his perfume appeared, in which he moved at the same instant. An unknown man appeared who was surprised that the main character had finally begun to restore his strength after rebirth. So I wanted to have some fun with him. He told them to use something. He called for the yin-yang sign. He called upon the twin spirits once more, but they were destroyed by the main character, after which he stood in front of the main gate. He had to look behind them. When he opened them, he saw a thing that the whole world was receiving. The hero tried to destroy it, but it did not give in to his efforts. The more the hero got angry, the stronger his strength became. Therefore, he managed to do it on the second try. Lan asked the hero what was inside. He replied that it was one image. He knows what's behind the scenes. Once upon a time, he made a clown on an evil star. But what he gave birth to turned out to be the embodiment of evil. He had his own personality and disobeyed his orders. He did not attach any importance to his escape, and after that he disappeared without a trace. In that very image it was him. His clone is behind everything that is happening. He possesses limitless power close to when he was at his peak. Therefore, this made the main character very angry. He didn't understand whether he really couldn't do anything. It was he who came with his sister. It is impossible to find its location, and there is no way to destroy it. And then he remembered that there was another way. He shouldn't be on this planet, and I didn't get any power from the ruins. If there's still a chance. The main character decided about the girl one day. He sensed the core of the Loi star. He poured blood into it and created his own clown. He needed this to fight the ruler of the star. He is a clone, born of a demonic nature. From his very birth, he possessed the creation. He hid his true goal until the clever hero began a battle with the ruler of stellar space. He escaped at the very time he was needed. He revealed his true purpose at that moment. When he held him, he could not free himself. Consequences of the game. The hero was wounded, and I couldn't activate the tilt ban. After that, he couldn't find him. It was as if he had dissolved. Finally, the doctor and all the other girls understood what really happened. And that's why the clone wanted to absorb the Earth, because it's not surprising, because it couldn't form the core of a star. He is tired of the rules of this world. He used such a small world to absorb all the souls he came into contact with. Every person came into this world was thanks to him, as nutrients. But there is one variable. When the main character was asked about the variable, he said that he is a clown. This is a child and his blood, and he cannot embody the main character. There is a chance to win. His existence poses a danger to laziness specifically for the clown. He thought he would stop at nothing until he paid for all the energy on the planet. He didn't pay attention to key information. I didn't understand what information the Twisted Wolf and his friend might have. The main character asked the doctor to do something for him. Find Fan In. She, of course, did not understand why he was a hero. She was needed at such a time. He said that it was precisely because the situation had reached such a point. And she was needed. Suddenly, the two girls fainted. The main character did not understand what was wrong with them. Around the planet began to turn black, and the absorption of energy began. Energy was continuously received, so the main character decided to fly straight there. Zhao came running to help the main character. Bring happiness, I'm late. The main character said that the star has come to a desperate step, and is that why the main character cannot get closer to him? And the boy had one discovery in connection with this. This wolf may not be a traitor. At the hospital, he told the guy something. Faye was on the plane. but he didn't understand what the poisonous wolf was trying to achieve. They flew on a plane together. The poisonous wolf asked not to ask about it. The clone asked the poisonous wolf how things were at the tables. The poisonous wolf did not listen to the clown. The clone asked the fairy to be taken to him. But the wolf apologized. He was not going to go to the boss. The clone didn't understand because he trusted the poisonous wolf. But he betrayed him. He understood that now it would be very bad. The main character was even surprised that the guys began to inform him in advance about their plans of action. The alerts stopped because he didn't have to worry about that right now. The guys all began to prepare for the final battle. Everything has taken so long. When the guy asked the poisonous wolf why at that moment he turned out to be a traitor. But the poisonous wolf replied that there was no other choice. That guy was special. The clone of the master has the power that the master once possessed, and he himself can actually manifest himself in two together. Everything to save his life, and prevent them from being attacked at any time. The guys came back to the main character. He was surprised that it was you and the wolf who knew everything and returned. He replied that nothing can be done because, sir, only he can cope with this type. The old woman asked the main character what was required of them now. The main character said that he called them all here so that they could carry out his plan to defeat the clone. The hero said that it was enough to talk about nonsense. Oh, iStars have only one weak point. It couldn't receive the main character's energy. And since he will be able to pay it, the clone decided to expand the planet and connected with all born people. Using this like this, others seem to stick to the strength of the main character. The fasting of others are tempting to absorb the protagonist. As a result, the main character's power was divided. And when it ends, there will be no more planets. The main character will cease to exist. The only thing left to do is to collect and assign the protective shape of the star. The guys decided to try and find out. Even the clone felt that she was ominous from her creator. He, the hero, asked to help him, to create a protective field around the Earth. They did just that. Even the clone immediately realized that it was information from the evil star. Therefore, the takeover was stopped. Even the clone hero understood that his clone could no longer restrain his anger and would come to the salt, and it was time to end this game. There were explosions all around. A huge hero stood against his clone. The guys tried to each other. The wave hero dominated. And they are two words, very fast and speed. But for some reason, the clone became stronger and stronger. Everyone realized together that they needed to increase the protection of their planet, and they decided to transfer all their energy to the main character through protection. Now the strength of the main character was much higher than that of the clone. The main character decided to Nessie the final blow to his clown, and the main character decided to take the star's core. He still tried to say that he was never for it. He would not allow control to be taken over him. The hero explained to him that he was just a creation of a star that he had not once purified, and only after the penetration of his soul did he gain his own will. It's time for him to return to where he belonged. Everything ends someday. Thus, the planet will return to its original form, and this little world will continue to collapse, after which a new world will be formed. People began to disappear, and the planet began to decline. The main character said goodbye to everyone on this planet,